right? There we go. Heavens. So what you're saying, Mick, is I played some of the most incredible guitar in the intro that I've ever played in my life.
What we need to do is one of us needs to look at the comments while we get going. I think is that would, I reckon that would help.
Well, who knows? Hey everyone, welcome to VCQ Live. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hopefully you can hear us now.
Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy? There she is. There she is. Hello, darling. Hello,
Right.
Beautiful girl.
Come here, Rosie. Come on. Can you jump up here? You going to jump up here, or do you want to go and see Daniel? Come on. Come here. Come on.
Daddy?
We have to lift you up then. We'll lift you up. You don't want to jump. Pup date. Rosie, the Sprocker Spaniel, for the second week in a row is not in doggy daycare today. Because what are we doing tomorrow, Dan?
We're heading down. Mick and I have been invited to come down to Abbey Road Studios. Look at her. Oh my goodness.
What's this? Good girl. Okay.
Oh my goodness. She's so amazing.
She has just farted though. Haven't you, Rose? You have just really dropped one in a big way, which is nice, isn't it, baby dog? Because you've got a bit of a funny body issue, haven't you? Ooh. Right. Time for you to go home. Come on. Good girl. Come on then.
See you, Rose. See you soon.
Go find Mum.
Yeah, so Mick and I are heading down to Abbey Road Studios tomorrow because we might be doing something very fun at Abbey Road in the foreseeable future. But we're going to go down and check it out and have a chat and do all that stuff. It's very cool.
At least it wasn't an elephant. And it didn't crap on the floor.
What, Rosie?
Yeah. You know those kids' TV shows from the...
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a big elephant turd on the floor. Oh, God. It's just shambolic. Yeah, voice is a little no. We know. Dog farts are the worst, says Jake Morin. Indeed they are.
It's that high-protein diet they have.
Yes. She's eaten something is the
She's
actual
eaten everything.
truth of the matter. Do you know what I do find interesting about this is that we don't change anything from week to week, and the voice level is low. How does that work?
I don't know. Are we feeling subdued?
I just don't get it. Fundamentally don't get it. But then it wouldn't be the first thing I don't get, would it?
No, Well, you get a lot more of that stuff than me because if I wouldn't have the first clue what to do.
Yeah. Anyway, do you like new t-shirts?
Look at these.
We've called it Summer of Fuzz.
Do you want to do a close-up, Mick?
Yeah, let's do a
close-up on our new close-up.
Available in 2 colourways, don't you know?
Whoa! Flex! Check that out.
Yeah. Somebody kindly said, why don't you get a ring light to go behind the camera, and then when you put things close to the camera, you'll be able to see, because our main lights are up there. We're like, yeah, it's a really good idea.
It's a really good idea.
Really good idea, so that's what we did.
So now, if we're going to show you something, talking about flanges, we can go, I've got to hide Mick's face. Where's Mick's face?
Yeah, I can hide my face.
Hide your face. There we go. So now I can show you.
Back a bit.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. And even closer. Look at the knobs. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, amazing. Amazing. That's so cool.
You wouldn't have been able to hear down then, but that's the next thing. We'll get sound up by the camera as well. I think we might be a bit overexposed today. Shall we? Let's get to the program. Shall we, Dan? Welcome. David Daly wants to know how your house move went, Dan.
Okay, I'll keep this short. The people. So being of a certain age, my wife and I said for the first time ever in a house move, we're going to get movers in. They're going to come and they're going to pack everything up. They're going to do it for us. It's going to be great. It's going to be no stress. There was some confusion over what time they were supposed to get here. We're supposed to be out of the house at midday. At 11 a.m., we get a phone call to say that the guy that's driving the van has somehow injured himself and they won't be able to make it. So it's 11 o'clock. We're supposed to be out of the house in an hour. So bless our neighbours. Our neighbours all came over and helped us pack and threw everything in boxes. And I mean, we'd had packed.
Wasn't it the biggest moving day in recent history?
Yeah, because it was the day before the stamp duty holiday finished. So it was honestly, it was an absolute nightmare. We just threw everything in boxes and stuff, and luckily enough, we were only moving the same street, just up, a few houses away.
Ramsey Street.
Yep, Ramsey Street. So our neighbours came over. We just threw everything in boxes and threw it in the garage. We don't know where anything is. It took, to say to Mick, it took us 2 hours to find cutlery the other day so we could have something to eat. It's a shambles. We're in the new house, but it's been the most stressful move we have ever done. Absolute nightmare. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, Dan.
No worries. I'm glad to be a little ray of sunshine in your otherwise cloudy day.
A bit of respite.
It's like, Teen says, "Oh, do you have to go?" I was, "Oh, gotta go and do VCQ, babe. It's really important. I thought you were going to have the week." No. VCQ is sacred. Well, I've got to be there. Actually, I might have to go a bit early. So that's how that went. Thank you for asking.
Indeed. Jonas Gravland wants to know, any chance of a Tweed episode?
Yes. So my dear friend Jesse Hoff from Lazy J, who is an expert on Tweed amplifiers and has a whole bunch of classic Tweed amps, is going to come on the show. I talked to him about this about a week ago, and yeah.
So yes,
it's going to be awesome.
Is the answer to that?
Because it's such an interesting circuit and design and era.
Yeah,
Fender.
I think that if you want to get nerdy on it, the internet's full of all the information you need. But the initial question for me is, well, here's a Blackface, here's a Tweed.
Yeah,
what is the difference?
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it? And we all think we know. And like all these things we think we know, it's not until you plug them in and stick them side by side that you go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Good morning from Colorado Springs, says SRV Teseg. SRV TECEG. Tech Edge. SRV Tech Edge.
Cool.
Tech. SRV Tech EJ.
I'm glad you're doing it.
I wonder if it's Rennie Martinez.
I'm sure it is.
Anyway. Ben Keane, what happened to your thumb, Dan?
Oh, man.
He was wrestling a crocodile. He stuck his thumb right up his bum.
No, I was training, and stuff happens.
You were wrestling?
No, I was wrestling.
But not a croco?
Not a croco.
Was it a kangaroo?
It's called an oil check. Wah! No.
He's like...
Yeah, so with I was doing some jiu-jitsu and did something, and then with all the move stuff, got knocked around. It's just really sore. I just need to tape it up, and I may need to go and see someone about it. Not right now. It's busy.
I have minimum sympathy for self-inflicted injuries. It's like
Sure.
people who climb mountains and break their leg, and they're like, "Oh, I broke my leg." It's like, well, I ain't saying anything. It's like if I fall off my motorbike, it's like, well, you did get a motorbike.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it?
Totally.
But we hope your thumb gets better soon, Dan.
Thank you very much.
I'd be
Thank you
more
very much.
worried if it was, a critical injury enabled you not to play the guitar.
Oh, sure.
That would be. I'd be worried then. I would have sympathy.
No, I'm
then.
good. No, I'm good. I'll get my voice out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross Philpott wants to know, hi chaps, love the show. I've learnt tons from you throughout lockdown. I was wondering, does what you do ever become a chore? Does doing what you love ever become a chore?
So, it's a fantastic question. There is doing what you love, and then there's all the stuff that surrounds, that supports you to enable you to do what you love.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So, and we always feel grateful and very blessed and fortunate to be able to do what we love, but it doesn't stop it from being hard work. But, there's always, I think at the end of the day, when you're able to look back and you've spent time doing something that you truly enjoy, it's a wonderful thing.
yeah, I don't know who said it first, but musicians often say it. We don't get paid for doing the gig. We get paid for the travel, the setup and the tear down, arguing with the promoter. And
that's where you earn your cash.
If we ever do moan about doing this, we are assholes of the highest order.
Totally.
Because there is no moaning to be done about this.
No,
I get stressed about the production element of it because there's never enough time and I like everything to be right.
Yep.
But you just need a quick word with yourself to say, hang on, whoa.
Yeah, totally.
You know, there's a great deal of people in the world in a far worse situation than this. We have no right to be annoyed with it.
Yeah.
The thing, I think the thing that bothers Dan and I the most, if anything does, it's that 90% of the time is all the work that goes around it, exactly what he said, and 10% of it is playing the guitar. And it would be great if we could work out a way to increase that ratio a bit.
Yeah.
So that's not a moan, it's just a goal.
Sure.
Fair?
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Thanks to BV.
Yes, thank you, BV.
Always for moderating today, and always thank you. We massively appreciate it, BV. Thank you. So huge thumbs up to BV.
Cheers, bud. There you go. One of them.
Yes, Tony Brooks wants to know, was it attaining your purple belt, Daniel?
Ah.
So we must say congratulations to Daniel for attaining his Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, Gracie Jiu-jitsu purple belt.
Yes, indeed. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, came as a surprise. I went to, we had a grading on the weekend, and I got my purple belt after, so I've been training for over 8 years now. Been a blue belt for 4 years, and got my purple belt on Saturday, and I was quite overwhelmed actually. It's wonderful.
Congrats, mate.
Thank you.
Big deal.
You very much.
Big deal.
Thank you very much.
Hello from Spokane, Washington, says Kevin Teo. Sold my coat in Spokane. Ray LaMontagne.
Okay. She don't like Spokane.
Nice. Bozeman, Montana, says Jason DeJong or DeJong. Owen Sound, Ontario, Canada. Hello
Lovely.
to A Stewart. Steve says your broadcast level is definitely low. I think we've fixed it. Let us know if we haven't. Voice level is always low for TPS. No, it's not. It's always -3 dB. But today it's a bit less than that for reasons I have no idea why. Could be a mic placement issue, actually, Dan.
Mine's bang on. Mine's absolutely central to this.
I think we might be a bit forward of where we normally are.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. See how that goes.
Yeah. It's so boring, isn't it?
Well,
it's so boring for all the humans out there. Anyway, let's get to the questions, shall we?
Indeed.
Thanks for being with us. Sorry we're a bit shambolic. Just the way it is, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Indeed.
Let's be honest about it. Right. Here we go. S-Wiz Swizz 871, Swizz 871 or S-Wiz. He says, or they say, I've spent a 2-week lockdown with your videos and my pedals. The Deja vibe has brought my big muff to life. Thanks for
nice.
all your inspiration. Presumably, well, actually, it doesn't matter which way around you've got it, but we're assuming that if you've got it after, it's buffering it, all sounds brighter.
Lovely.
Happy days.
Very good.
That could be what's happening there. Thank you for being with us.
Very good.
Why not Maple? Says is the name of the person here. Why not Maple?
Why not indeed?
Indeed. Hello.
Hello.
Finally, I get to watch it live thanks to the holiday. Oh yeah, in the US it was
4th.
Some big thing yesterday. Yeah.
Happy
Independence Day.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious. I apologise to everyone in America. Yeah. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope it was fantastic.
Yeah. And we're sorry. Dan, thank you. Mick, thank you. Your show has a huge impact on my tone and helps me find a sound of my own that I'm happy with. Best wishes. You're all of the best, says Why Not Maple.
That's wonderful.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, mate. That's the best thing ever.
We hope you're having a peaceful day.
Yeah.
Bubba Teston. Bubba, thank you for your generosity. That's Super generous, thank you. He says, hello from Concord, Georgia, I guess, GA. Love what you guys are doing. What order would you put these pedals in? Wacko, Wah from Jam.
Yep.
Strober, Stromp, Tuner from those people.
Yes, the tuner people.
Peterson.
Yep.
Pedal Porn, Fuzz, T-Rex Moller 2, D&M Drive, RC Booster, Small Clone Chorus, Harmonious Monk, MXR Carbon Copy.
Very nice. Okay.
Should we start with the easy bit?
Yep.
Harmonious Monk last.
Very good.
Carbon Copy before that.
Mm-hmm.
So Monk, Carbon Copy. Then it's really about the placement of the chorus. Sorry, I'm doing this because Dan's not reading the pedal names, therefore he's probably forgotten the pedal names I've read out.
Who are you?
Yeah, there you see. So then it's about where the chorus goes in relation to the drives.
Sure. If we go back to the start of the chain, you've got your Peterson Strober Stomp, you've got your Wacko Wah, both true bypass. You know, I'd have the guitar go into the tuner because that's a good input mute, and then into the wah pedal, and from there you've got your gain stages, and the way that we like to do it as a place to start, it all depends on how you're using those pedals as opposed to the pedals themselves. We did a show recently, which was in the, got 20 odd overdrives on my board. And so we show you that it's not necessarily the pedal, but how you're using it. The pedal that you're using for the most amount of gain, we like earlier on, and the pedal that you're using for the least amount of gain, maybe for booster and things, we like at the end of the chain. And we're like starting in that, like that, so you've got your D&M drives, you've got your other things.
Yeah, that's the confusion is you've got a lot of really nice sort of mid-game overdrive power there. You've got T-Rex Moller 2 and a D&M drive, both of which are dual-sided. So it almost the Moller is after the D&M drive, I would say, because the Moller sounds a bit cleaner to me, even though it will do heavy overdrive. But
sure.
The D&M drive will do heavier overdrive.
Yep.
In terms of the front of the chain there, it might be that you want your fuzz right out the front before the tuner.
Yeah, right. Yes, the true bypass mode in the Peterson Strober Stomp is very clean, and the Wacko Wah is also very clean. So you might want the fuzz in front of the wah though.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool sound. But as long as the fuzz, when you're playing the fuzz, sees the inductance of this coil, sees the impedance directly from the pickup, then so the fuzz right at the front, and then heavier gain stages cascading to the lower gain stages, maybe using for boost.
Yeah.
But now that's just a place to start. After that, you absolutely have to experiment, because it all comes down to your dynamics is when you're playing, the amp that you've got, how you have that set up. Everything in that chain is involved in getting that sound, and the order has a massive impact on that.
Yeah. And then if you don't find that heavier gain first, least gain last thing works, swap them around, because there's a lot of people who prefer the low gain stuff and the high gain stuff at the end. So it's a matter of taste, really.
Totally.
If you find yourself getting confused, slim it down a bit and take two of the pedals that you're not sure about and just listen to them in isolation each way around, and do this with your hands like a magician.
Yep.
And that might help clear the fog a little bit. Also, the thing that he always says is, if you're not going to use the two pedals at the same time, it doesn't matter what order they go in.
No, it doesn't matter.
So that might help the decision as well.
Indeed.
Thanks for that, Bubba, and thank you for your amazing generosity. Andrew Dibble says, good day, gents.
Good day, Mr. Dibble.
Mick, in your experience and money no object, which guitar gets you closest to a true vintage Fender sound and feel, a modded American vintage or a custom shop? I would say guitar for guitar, if you got 10 of each and you stuck them into 2 racks and you picked them up, I would say the custom shops are going to get you closer than the American vintage reissues. What that doesn't take into account is that one of those guitars might be really banging for you,
Sure.
and another one might be less to your taste, but it might be more to my taste. So I would say you're in with a fair chance with any guitar to get a really nice vintagey Strat sound, assuming the custom shop you're talking about is like a relic type. What I think the relics have over the well, there's a number of things that custom shop has over American vintage reissue, or especially over the latest American original. Just to recap that, from 2012 to whenever they turned into American original, those guitars were the closest they've ever done in American vintage in terms of spec, finish, hardware, pickups.
They just had a really good go at it?
They completely redesigned them from the ground up and relaunched them in 2012.
Wow.
And they went to town on everything.
Wow.
And that's what that black one is.
Right.
That's what Transit Van is. And the one before that, which is what blue is, not so good, bit more general. And then after, I don't know when they did it, like maybe 2018 or something, 2017, something like that, they went back to a more general approach to the American originals. So where I think custom shop scores is, one, more exacting choice of timbers. And I think they think a bit more about whether that body and neck's really going to work together. Once you're up there to American vintage and custom shop, things like multiple bodywood spreads don't tend to happen quite so much anyway, whereas in American standard, in lower ranges, especially on the solid finishes, you might get, well, at one point could be 7 or 9 pieces. I'm not sure they still do that, but they certainly did. So once you're up there with decent American vintage and custom shop, you should be into 2 or 3 piece bodies, which is generally thought to be a good thing, though, far be it from me to say that it is universally a good thing. Where I think the relics really, really, really score is the finish. It's usually thinner and there's usually less of it. So that guitar tends to be a bit more further down the road.
Right.
Whereas if you buy a brand new guitar with a full-on finish on it, it's going to take you a minute to bond with it a bit more. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sound any worse, but in my personal experience, once the finish is hardened and been battered off a bit, that's when the guitar starts to sing.
Right.
Now, blue has the thin skin, absolutely minimal undercoat. You can't see it. All you can see is blue.
And it has years of wear on it.
Lacquer, yeah. Whereas I have seen American vintages that have got like a really thick base coat, which of course they had in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's no... All this thing about thin skin wasn't necessarily the case back then.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
just the fact that they've had 50 years of wear and that finish becoming one with the wood.
Interesting.
Which is what's happened on a really great old guitar that's been played a lot.
Interesting.
So my answer is it's down to the individual guitar. I think if you were to take an average, it would be custom shop every day of the week. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. Jacob Bartelt. Hi,
Hey, Jacob.
I got my new TPS t-shirt in the mail this week, he says, and I wore it the day I got it and ran into a fellow TPS member.
Legend.
How cool is that? I love the
Wow.
community you two have built. Well, Jacob, thanks so much. I am on the case with your bit of audio, by the way. I was hoping you might be able to give me a timestamp, or somebody can give me a timestamp to exactly what it is that you want, and I will turn that around for you. Arnold Deal III may have a question. We're not really sure. Maybe we'll get to you in a sec, Arnold. You've done a super chat, but there's no question. Nick Osborne, he says, hi Mick. On vintage spec strats, does stuff like correct contours and dark versus light rosewood fretboards affect how you feel about them? Yes and no. For anyone who doesn't know, they got blockier as the years went on. So the early 50s ones were, and again, all of this is in general, right? All of this is on average. It's not necessarily the case for every single guitar, but 50s ones tend to be curvier, deeper contours. Remember, it was new. Dudes stood there with their shirts off, making the contours on huge sanding belts.
Have you seen that video?
Yeah, with the guy doing
just
the forearm.
unbelievable.
And the love that went into those guitars was something else.
Someone else.
And then, of course, as they started making thousands and thousands of them, I guess that process got a little bit more. And by the time you get to 65, they're actually pretty blocky. Some of the bodies can be right blocky. And one of the things I really strongly disliked about a lot of the American standards was how blocky the bodies were. So that's just a personal preference.
Sure.
Dark rosewood fingerboards, yeah, I mean, there's nothing like seeing a really lovely dark fingerboard. But then let's not forget that not all Brazilian rosewood was really dark. So the Indian stuff tends to be dark. And it tended, you know, if you look at an old slabboard Strat with a really nice piece of Brazilian on it, it tends to look pretty dark. But some of them were lighter.
Yeah.
So no, that wouldn't put me off. I actually quite like the look of Palfero, weirdly.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a bit lighter looking.
But it's still in that family, right?
I think they call it Rio rosewood. It's not actually a rose. It's not a Dalbergia.
Right.
I don't believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody may put me right on that, but I don't think it's actually a rosewood species. It just looks like it.
Oh, okay.
I think I could be wrong. So no, not really. Blue has an unusually dark fingerboard. In fact, Dan, let's use close-up cam light to have
indeed.
to have a look at fingerboards on two guitars. So the aforementioned, Dan, could you commentate?
Okay.
The aforementioned.
The aforementioned. This is a
2012.
Transit van from 2012, and you can see the colour of the rosewood fingerboard on that one.
And I have no
And
idea
it's
why the dots have gone that colour.
Yeah, and those strange, almost clay-looking dots, but they're not clay, are they?
Well, one of the
We
things
don't
they
know.
did until 2012.
One of the things they did until 2012.
No, in 2012.
In 2012, indeed.
Was they tried to make the dots the right material.
Oh, they tried to make the dots the right stuff. Yeah, okay. But now this is the neck on blue, and see how dark that fingerboard is. It's just stunning.
I've got a theory about this guitar.
Okay. But that's Transit van is much lighter.
And so both rosewood. When they redid this material, I'm guessing, was just a lot more porous. So when it's had fret jobs and stuff over the years,
Right. It's got darker.
it's bled into the.
Just so red sits somewhere.
Yeah.
Hide your face. See, red sits somewhere in the middle of those two, I think.
And then notice that post 63 they moved the dots in the wrong place at the 12th fret, so they don't sit under the A and the B strings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. Not quite sure when that happened, but it certainly had happened by 63.
Right.
My theory about this guitar is I think it might have been a or the prototype for this series
Right.
because of where it came from.
Okay. And also, because that was sent to Guitarist magazine, right? And you bought it.
No. I walked into Charlie Chandler's and bought it.
No way.
But Charlie's brother Doug had a hand in publishing the book.
So that. Okay.
So I don't know, because I haven't seen a finish like this.
No.
You tell me, people out there who've got American vintage reissues.
Look at that. It's just super thin.
So normally what you'd see on an American vintage reissue is a very clear undercoat
Yeah,
there.
the white undercoat.
And
There's nothing there. It's just sprayed straight on.
yeah. And I don't know if that here's my knowledge running out. I don't know if that varied between the Lucite and the Duco finishes, the acrylic finishes, which is what that is.
Yeah.
Candy apple red, and Duco, which was the flat nitrocellulose.
So there's undercoat. All the white stuff you see there is all undercoat.
Back a bit. Back a bit.
It's all good. Look, that's all good. You see all the white. There you go.
Yeah, so sorry, I could just talk about it for my whole life. But what you will also see on Transit Van here, similar, when they did the finishes so much better. I mean, that one you can see.
You can see the undercoat. Yeah.
It's a different kind of undercoat.
Yeah, right.
So if you take like something abrasive.
Mick is taking something abrasive.
Even even plectrum, for example.
A plectrum, for example, and he's going to show you. He's going to scratch some of that finish off. Oh,
see, just comes off, and that wouldn't happen on a modern poly finish. You wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, it happens on red all the time. I look at it wrong, and it just starts flecking.
And that is why nitrocellulose is cool. And of course, you walk into Guitar Centre or a good guitar shop, and then you... Actually, that's not fair. I'm sure Guitar Centre's had some good days. And you buy your nitrocellulose guitar, you take it home, you put it on the stand, it chips, and you take it back and you go, this finish is rubbish. Right. And that's why a great many companies stopped doing nitrocellulose.
Right, because it's so fragile.
Yeah, and then the environmental thing afterwards. Sorry, massive tangent. Massive tangent.
That's
apologies.
Great, that was fantastic.
Do you like maple fingerboards on Strats? Says Talu Jazz. I do. I love the sound of them. I love the look of them. And if it's an old one where the lacquer's gone, I can play them. If it's a new one, I just can't play them. It's something screwy in my technique, which means a lot of my flesh ends up on that fingerboard, and my flesh just sticks to the fingerboard, so I can't play them, unfortunately. But I do love the sound of them. Love the sound of them. Just make sure we haven't missed anything on that. Oh God, we need to move on. Apologies, everyone. I think that was only the second question, wasn't it? No, not quite. Oh my God. I reckon we missed a couple, actually.
Simo Kahopa says, any thoughts on the OX4 low wind A4 pickups? Planning to upgrade those in my 2020 Gold Top Standard. I have those in my Les Paul, and I've tried a bunch of other pickups in there, and they just suit that guitar. So I think the OX4s are fantastic. My 2 cents for what it's worth. Yeah, big fan.
That was weird. Something weird's just happened.
Okay.
I hope we haven't missed a bunch of... No, we haven't. Apologies.
Okay.
Apologies. Jacob Bartelt.
Jacob Bartelt. Hello,
he
mate.
says, in your shorter videos, baseline videos you all are making, what topics are you covering? Do you have one on how to set up a guitar? I'm super stoked about that, and stay rad.
I guess in the vlogs there ends up being segments on that, but nothing specifically on how to set up a guitar.
No, we haven't planned one specifically on that. They are things like, and they may not be for you guys. You know, like we call you lot the TPS faithful, the people who can be bothered to tune in and listen to me and Dan harp on for a couple of hours live. You know, you are a very select bunch of humans, whereas most abnormal humans who don't like this kind of thing basically want to click on a video, get an answer in 20 seconds and click off it again.
Yep.
So it's geared...
You could have explained that in 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Instead, I had to wait till 47 minutes before you even started to play the guitar.
I missed my bus, my cat missed his dinner, and so they're going to be about things like what's the difference between boost, overdrive, fuzz and distortion. Very, very briefly. They're going to be like, how do you choose a modulation pedal? They're going to be like, what would your 3 first pedals be if you were just getting into pedals?
Yeah.
So we're going to try and take it right back to beginnings and just ask very basic, you know, what is and how does questions that don't require loads and loads of explanation. And that we are finding out very hard, because clearly there are no answers, only better questions. So we're trying to be very careful to give people information that will help, but not to say this is the only way. And that's really tough.
Yeah, totally. It's very important. One thing I love about this community is it's so inclusive. You know, our TPS community, and there's a lot of questions out there for people who are just starting out. We want to make sure that they feel the love and that we are able to encourage them to try things and, just maybe point them in a few directions of things to try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit like, just encouraging people in so that they then become in a position to ask better questions.
There we go.
Because
Beautiful.
the question that frustrates Dan and I more than anything else is, what does that sound like?
Yeah.
And the answer is, well, depends where you put the knobs. And even we're still learning that now. So, yeah. Yeah. But guitar setup video is interesting. Neither me and Dan set up our own guitars perfectly adequately, but neither of us would in any way proclaim to be good at it. Was that fair?
Absolutely. So when been playing guitar a long time, been setting up my guitars for a long time, but I take a guitar along to Johnny Kincaid and I get it back and it's like, oh, so that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah, yeah. It's you just can't. You can't watch a video on how to set up a guitar and then set up a guitar. Johnny's set up, or your favourite guitar maintenance person has set up thousands of guitars. They do it day in, day out, and the things they do without even thinking about it are things that you will never learn.
Yep.
And it's so worth paying for, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But if you do want to laugh, in the Jason Isbell telly vlog that will be coming maybe this week, maybe next week, I do deepen the nut slots with nut files.
Really?
Just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, because the strings are a little bit too big.
Okay.
And I've sort of doing that for sport, because I'm looking forward to all the comments.
Okay.
That are like, dude, you're doing that totally wrong. So it's like, that's for you guys.
Very good. Very good.
KJ Photo says, my D&M label maker knobs would be Cobblers, 2 o'clock, Blimey O'Reilly on the mix side, and Ace Awesome and Far Out Man on the Dan side. How about you? For anyone that didn't know, we did a D&M drive with the old Dymo type labels, and there was 10 that came without any labels, and you could make your own. I don't know if I've got one here.
No, none up there. Oh, you do? Well done.
So these were actually mine.
What does it say? I can't read it.
They say the 2 volume knobs are more and more.
Nice.
And then the knobs are called Dave, Bob, Ken, Steve, and more and better.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I like it.
We sent one to Anderson's, and they said they shot that video about 20 times.
Well, they couldn't stop laughing.
Because by the time they got to this one, Pete had done a sweary on there.
Brilliant.
Thank you for getting a label maker if you got one. Haven't been able to watch live for a while, says David Rutledge. Great to have you here, David.
Yeah.
He says, but it's holiday in the US. Just saying hi from Nashville. Oh, cheers, mate.
No worries, mate.
Well, hello to Nashville.
Indeed.
And once again, we hope you're all enjoying your 4th of July celebrations in the US.
I'm really keen to get to Nashville. I want to taste me some of that barbecued meat.
Honestly, I went to one outside Austin. It was Texas barbecue just outside Austin. We've talked about it before, and somebody told me what it was called. It was
unbelievable.
I mean, the barbecue was like a 8-foot walk-in fire in the middle of the restaurant.
Wicked.
It was just amazing.
Oh boy.
Anyway, Jeremy Summers. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
He says, I'm currently using an AC30 through a Universal Audio aux at home. I've always wanted a Mesa. I was thinking about the Mark 525 as stereo wet dry wig. Ret's dry wig. What do you think?
Superb. What's the channel switching situation on that? Are you wanting to use that for the multiple channel thing?
Yeah.
One thing I don't know about that is if the channels are all in phase, and I'm not sure they are.
It's very uncommon in an amp that's multi-mode and multi-phase for them all to be in phase. And I think even the 2-Rock, when you do the various modes.
So the issue with that is when you change channels, then your other amp's going to be out of phase.
So moving on from what he said, how do you want to use that Mark 525? So with the AC30, for example, you do have multiple channels, but it's not a channel switching amp. So one would assume, and this is an assumption, that you're running it at a sort of given gain level and you then use your pedals for everything else. Now, in order for a Ret's Dry wig to work, well, in order to do it in the way that Dan and I would approach it, you kind of want the other amp to be the same sort of gain level, which would mean that channel switching in the Mesa probably wasn't on the cards, unless you've got some other thing in mind, and if you have, all cool. Personally speaking, I would go for one of Mesa's more simple amps.
Right.
Yeah, I'd go for the California Tweed.
Yeah, okay.
Because, to my mind, it has a gain range that's more in keeping with where the AC30 is.
Interesting. And a complementary EQ thing going on.
Or even the Rectiverb 25, which is a stonking amp.
Do they still do the Heartbreaker?
No. It went in different directions. It kind of became one channel of the Lone Star, sort of.
Okay.
Sort of.
I love the Heartbreaker.
Yeah, it's largely Mark 1 based, wasn't it, I think?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, all Mesa amps, totally brilliant. But if you don't need all those channels, get a simpler one.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that single channel amps is the way to go if you're not going to use all those channels. And then there's no compromise. It's just the thing is concentrating on what it needs to do and nothing else.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
But if you do want to do all the channel switching stuff and take, advantage of all that and the different power options and all that, then yeah, really, really killer amp.
Yep.
And don't be fooled into thinking that 25 watts isn't very loud. 25 Mesa watts is like, hello.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Aaron, Albus Band.
Hey, mate.
Aaron says, happy Bunday, Leggins.
Happy Bunday, Aaron. I had a brief chat with Aaron.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Hope you're both well. We got another gig on Wednesday, and the TPS attire shall continue. Got to promote my boys, all my love. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, he said that the gig went incredibly well. So really, because I just did a post that said, because we haven't done any gigs yet. Obviously, we're still coming out of all the stuff, and I just wanted to see what the gigs were like, who's out there gigging and stuff. And Albus got in touch and he said, I've got a gig coming up. I'll let you know how it goes. And he came back and said, it was amazing.
Oh, wicked.
So yeah, that's everyone that's out there getting back into it. It's really wonderful.
It's heartening to see, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't, I'm really looking forward to doing it. I know to get back to that place where we're both going to be happy with it, it's going to be work. But fun work.
Be fun work. Prog Doggy, greetings from Canada.
G'day, mate.
He says, okay, my board is together and sounding great. QMX10 is wonderful.
Thank you.
Now comes wet dry. Should I get an AC15 or a Blues Junior to go with my Marshall DSL20? Love the show, especially VCQ.
That's such an interesting question. Both of those amps will work really well. The AC15 sits in a similar place tonally because of the reduced frequencies in the bottom end. Just a tighter bottom end, similar that the Marshall has, similar frequency range the Marshall has, whereas the Fender is a bit fatter in the bottom end than the AC15, and you might depending. If you really love that tightness in the Marshall, then go with the AC15. If what you want is something a bit thicker and a bit fatter, go with the Blues Junior.
Yeah, I would say that actually in that slightly bigger box there is still a fair bit of bottom end in the AC15, whereas the Blues Junior can be a bit boxier sounding.
Okay.
I think the gain range is going to work better in the AC15.
Okay.
Plus you've got tremolo on board as well, which is really cool. So you've got an extra bit of wet, dry option there. I personally would go AC15.
I mean, I'm always going to go Vox.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be diplomatic.
I really like that amp.
It's great.
Just the basic bog standard AC15. It's such a good sounding thing.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Nice reverb, nice tremolo. Happy days.
Yep.
Yeah, super popular for good reason. David Burke, howdy chaps, no question, just feeling bad for not sending any love for a few weeks. David, please don't feel bad. Blimey, O'Reilly. He says, finally watched your Strat video over the weekend. So inspiring. Almost made me want to play my Strat. Almost. Thank you, David.
Thank you, mate.
Michael McFall says, thanks for the great content. I appreciate you guys so much.
Wow, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Steve Harvey. Hello, Steve. He says, guys, I'm thinking of diving in and expanding to a wet to Ret's dry wig. What amps would you put on the shortlist to pair with my Boogie Mark V, and which would you recommend to be wet and which dry? Now, bit of background on this. Steve's a friend of mine, and came up one day and we plugged in and got him going with some pedals. He ended up getting G2.
Yes.
And he's kind of gone that whole route. So I think where we ended up, Steve, was that our previous question about the Mark V, you're using fewer of the
amp channels,
Boog's amp channels, and more of the overdrive pedals. So I guess if you've got an eye on budget, then something like a Hot Rod Deluxe would be awesome.
Fantastic choice. Every time we've used the Hot Rod Deluxe, we've managed to get music.
Yeah.
Something meaningful.
For me, it's a real live amp too.
Yeah.
It has a particular mid-range that just cuts. And it was designed that way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Richie Fliegler who designed it, but it was, or at least the transition of those amps that were the Blues Deluxe that evolved into the Hot Rod series eventually. Should also shout out to Shane at Fender for that, actually. But for use at home, Hot Rod Deluxe is kind of like, really?
Well, it's one of those amps that, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but you go into the music store and you play an amp and think, oh, that sounds really great and fat and big. Yeah, and you play it live and you go, where's all that wonderful thing gone? But you play a Hot Rod Deluxe in the shop, you go, wow, those frequencies are really getting me. But then you hear it live, it's like, it's amazing.
It works.
Yeah, totally. It was obviously designed with that in mind. Like, you know.
Definitely was.
Yeah, wonderful.
It definitely was. And then, I don't know how loud you're playing, Steve. If it's not that loud, then go for something a bit smaller. AC15 is always great. Blues Junior is always great. What else do we like? I really like the Supro amps, all of the Supro ones. As long as it's not too small to get any headroom out of.
Yeah,
but that Black Magic is so loud. It's crazy loud to overdrives.
The Keeley did a Supro amp, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah. 65 Deluxe Reverb, again, bit more money, but just a brilliant amp.
Yep.
Kind of sits with anything, not too heavy to carry around.
Yep. I've been using a J20 for years, and that's a fantastic amp to use with. I mean, I use it with a AC30 matchless, and that always pairs up really well.
If portability is an issue, I would totally recommend something like the Blug Amp 1. Yeah,
they're fantastic.
Which is a like pedal format 100-watt amp, and as long as you get a decent speaker cab for it in a wet dry setting, that could be blinking awesome because it's so much less to carry around. Still got the cab obviously, but it might be. Your Mark V's a combo, isn't it? I was going to say it could, if it was two heads, you could just get a 212 cab and run them separately. But yeah, something like that could be a good shout. But if it was like, right, you got to go out now and buy an amp, it would be a Hot Rod Deluxe for me.
Yeah, yep. It's the one with the least amount of questions. You just going to sound fantastic.
Yeah,
like it.
Endless headroom, almost.
Yeah.
Nice to hear from you, Steve. Hope you're well, mate. Why not Maple again? Did I understand the other day that Dan was the first person to make a loop switcher? Is that correct or not?
No, certainly not. We were, when we did the first Pro 14 back in 2004, bloody hell. Actually, it was earlier than that. It's in 2002 when it all started. I think 2004 was the first review. But it wasn't the first loop switcher. It was certainly, there was nothing like it at the time.
I have to turn Super Chat off, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, of course.
Super Chat's going off now. Sorry, everyone. We are well over subscribed for Super Chat. So
okay.
Apologies, Dan.
Yeah. But now, it was... The Pro 14 was out there before a lot of the stuff that you'll see now. But there were certainly things, if you could have custom rigs built by, name your builder here that would do that. But the Pro 14 came about because I couldn't afford to do any of that, so ended up doing that myself. But, you know, there were certain features in there that hadn't been done before. But yeah, certainly not the first loop switcher out there.
No, I think from my end anyway, that particular group of features in that format,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And with its specific intention in mind of solving a load of the problems of mixing up quirky, weird, bad-tempered pedals.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the other stuff that was around and that had been developed was about, you know, get 6 of this thing, the same thing, or making line level stuff work, like you said. Like, so if you're talking about Bob Bradshaw, but that was a whole different game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That wasn't get it all on your pedal board. That was have a block of flats next to your amp.
Yeah. And amazing stuff. Just, you know.
Took 3 months to build and 50,000 quid. So, yeah.
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 So it was, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, could you say that the first loop switcher was probably something like a patch bay in a studio?
Yeah. Yeah. MIDI controlled patch bay. I'm not sure. There was things like was the Octopus that could do stuff. You know, there's a couple of rack things, but yeah.
Simon says, I got a high watt head for clean and a Kraken preamp in the loop for heavy tones.
Oh.
Is there a cab or speaker that can do both of these tones justice?
Get a 4x12 load with Celestian Blues.
Dan loves Celestian Blues. Yeah, it depends how loud you play. If that high watt is 100 watt or even a 50 watt and it's cranked, then you need speakers that are going to take it.
Yeah.
Because that will punish. But if you don't play that loud, you know, if that amp's not absolutely hammering, then as Dan said, any decent 412 will do it. Actually, greenback loaded 412 will do a really brilliant job of that.
I love greenback cleans; they're really great.
But if you want a sort of more inert type speaker that's just gonna get the job done, the WGS 12L, which is an EV style, I've got that in my 2-rock cab, and I've got it in one of my Zilla cabs, and I love that speaker. It does everything well. Right. And, you know, let's not forget the good old Celestian Vintage 30.
Yeah.
It was popular and it remains popular for very good reason. If you're playing live, it has a pronounced kind of bit in the upper mids there that is really good for that. And they have changed a lot over the years, but yeah, I mean, so number one, if you can use a 412, a greenback loaded 412,
very, very special thing. Very special thing.
That's what our Marshall is, the Marshall 412 that we've got. If you don't want a 412 and you want something smaller, Ultimate 112 high power speaker is the EV 12L. 12L. And WGS do a version of that called the WGS 12L, which is what I use, and they're really good. Failing that, Celestian Vintage 30.
Yeah. Lovely.
There you go. That's what we go for.
So the Vintage 30 is a 70 watt speaker.
60.
Why is it called a Vintage 30? Where does the 30 come from?
That's a really great question, Dan. I wonder if it's to do with the magnet weight.
Oh, interesting.
You're right, it is 70 watts. Marshall Forum, modern speaker, 60 watts. Why is it called Vintage 30?
Let's see. Let's see if anyone's chimed in with an answer. Let's see.
There is Steve Grinrod has explained it with an explanation that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever on the Marshall Forum. So something to do with the fact it was going to be one thing, it wasn't that. Alnico and ceramic magnet speaker problems. It was released at the same time as the G12H. blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, to be fair.
Okay. Well, there you go. Anyway, interesting.
One
One to ponder.
From a 1 minute. I mean, if I'd read it for another 2 minutes, it might have made more sense. Anyway, yes, sorry. Matt Light Blue. Hello, Matt. He says, hi from Italy and thanks for all you do.
Hello back to you in Italy. I love Italy. My favourite place. I found a photo of you and me in Rome the other day.
Yes, you sent it to
so
me.
cool.
You sent it to me. That was the day Bill Collins died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in Rome the day he died. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember that. I got a call saying he died. May he rest in peace,
Yeah.
Bill. I want to place my order for the Ron Ellis Strat 5060 set to put in my 2007 American Standard. I'm very connected to the guitar and the sounds in it. What are your thoughts?
Interesting.
Don't change them. Are my thoughts?
If you are connected, then leave it.
Yeah. Just leave it.
Yeah.
If you like it, why spend all that money?
I've sort of approaching this with guitars now, that if I buy another guitar ever again, it's going to be, I don't want to buy it because of its potential. It's going to be, that guitar is just incredible in every single way. Pickups, hardware, everything. Because you change one little thing on the guitar and it's a whole different instrument.
Well, we're about to find out. I'm about to swap out the bridge and saddles on my Isbell Telly because I don't like the bridge that's on there. And I like intonated saddles on a Telly, so we'll see if it shouldn't wreck the guitar, right? Because it's a new guitar, brand new guitar. It's got brand new basic range bits on it. So by swapping out that bridge plate for one that's the right shape,
One would hope.
it really shouldn't hurt too much.
Yeah. But if you've connected with the guitar,
yes,
if you're really, really happy with the guitar and you connected with it, just leave it.
Yeah, totally. Connor McCarthy, thank you for helping me love my AC15 and Fender Blues Junior amps. Spent years trying to dial them in. Your vids have helped me get an epic tone.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Nice one, Connor. Ian McKee says, I've sorted silent practice. Guitar, pedal board, JCM 800. 2 notes captor from the dry out into the Boss Wazza headphones set flat with cabinet and room sim on and reverb via Bluetooth. Holy crap.
Awesome.
JCM 800 in your headphones.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very nice. I saw one of those for sale the other day and I was tempted.
They're quite a lot of money now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I had a 2203 and 412 and I paid £500 for both of them in about 1989, 1990, something like that, 91 maybe, 90, 89.
Right.
So I'd be like 15, 16. I went through this crazy, got rid of the Twins, don't like that, got a JCM 800, don't like that, went back to the Twins, don't like that. Bought a Mark III Boogie. Done. But it was hilarious showing up for the first wedding gig with a Marshall half stack after playing Twins for so long. It's like, well, I say for so long, a year and a bit. Yeah, wish I'd kept that. God. I had no idea what it was, obviously, at the time.
Sure.
No idea how to use it. Tim Good. I'm liking the love for hollow body and semi-hollow electrics on the show lately. My birthday present to myself a few months ago was an Ibanez Art Core.
Nice.
I've never been so happy with a new guitar. Sounds and plays great. Nice one, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just unbelievable value for money.
They've done such a great job with those guitars. Yeah, very cool. Well done.
Nice. I think there's definitely something about, there's been a lot of love for the Casino recently. I've been playing that a bit more and it's just easier at lower volume. It's just, I don't have to work so hard.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah. Literal Caden says, what combination of 3 overdrive, boost, distortion, fuzz pedals do you think would be the most versatile Double pedals count as 2 pedals. So you've got 3 gain stages. What's the most versatile?
Well, okay. Fuzz, a distortion and an overdrive. Overdrive set up as a booster. Fuzz set up, distortion set up like a lower, it's like still clipping, but like a DS1 with a nice sounding old DS1 with the distortion turned down a bit is a killer thing. But the Fuzz, like my Analog Man Sunface, because it's so dynamic and I can get like amazing clean sounds out of it all the way up to proper angry fuzz. So, and then using an overdrive as a booster after that, using overdrive as just a gentle drive, and then having the distortion as a real proper angry but tight distortion. Tight, whereas the fuzz is a lot looser. That for me, I love that combination, especially playing tellies and mashes and voxes and things. I think there's a combination that really works great.
Yeah, I agree with him. Fuzz, something that spans overdrive into distortion and then a boosty thing.
Yeah.
So I'd go like, it would be difficult. I would choose a fuzz face because that's the sound I like, but they're not, well, if you can crank the amp, they are tremendously versatile. So I don't know if it'd be a really nice tone bender, maybe, or a zonky thing. Don't know, fuzz face, Klon, and then something mid-gained in the middle.
Mm.
And that's going to depend on the amp.
Yeah.
I think.
All amp dependent.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a great week, gents, says Matthew Frederick. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you very much. Leg ends, says Curtis R. Congrats to Dan on his BJJ purple belt.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And to Mick on that glorious drum kit. Much love from Kansas City.
Mick sent me the video of that. And it was just, honestly, mate, I cracked up. It was so funny.
Dan and I are joint custodians of the drum kit, by the way. Actually, I think I might have bought the snare and one of the cymbals, but that pedal show bought the rest of it.
Okay. Well, man, I'm the worst. I mean, man, we think my Tommy's bad on guitar. Wait till you hear me on drums.
Yeah, I wonder,
Mick's got a very nice groove, though.
I can do it for about 8 bars. Interestingly, for a bit of giggles the other day, I had a couple of hours on Friday for the first time in as long as I can remember, because Catherine had gone off to do something, so I was like, yes. So I was like shirking my responsibilities, and I put the headphones on the long cord. Right. I put my Apple iTunes favourites list on, which it auto selects.
And you played along?
So it was everything from Shaka Khan to Maren Morris to Doyle Bramall to Sarah Jarosz.
Fantastic.
And I listened to the beats and I was trying to obviously it was horrifically bad, but I just thought, I don't know anything really about drums and beats. But then what you realise pretty quickly is every song is that. And then it's just whether it's 4s on the bass drum, or 2 and 4, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, or whether it's just 1.
Yeah, right.
And then everything after that is muso stuff that you hire someone for. But basically, so my goal on the drums is to get good enough to be able to Dan and I are going to do the shite stripes. So I'm Smeg and he's Smack.
Oh man,
Smeg and Smack White.
That's great.
And
with the support band Wobbly Wibliams.
Smeg and Smack Shite. We are. Yeah. Sorry for swearing. It's not really a swear. So I want to get good enough for that, but that's okay because no, I'm not going to rag on Meg. And then I want to get good enough. I'm going to record a song for the Isabel Telly thing, and I'm going to play drums on it.
Yeah. Wicked.
And I don't need to play drums for like 3 minutes and 21 seconds.
You're going to sample and
I
loop.
just need to play drums for like 8 or 16 bars.
Yeah.
And then I think I
Lovely.
can dub on the fills. And it might be that I only play the snare and the hats.
Right.
And then I'll dub on the bass
Yeah.
drum, because I don't think I can keep it going for more than about 16 bars.
Sure.
And that's my goal. And I think
That's fantastic.
it could be fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely,
you know,
man.
I'm so bored of programmed drums, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I have ordered a thing to cut a hole in the front.
Oh, really? I really?
Yeah.
I'd love that. Just stick a mic in the front of it.
You can't.
You can.
You can't because
You
you've got to
can.
damp it. Listen to this.
That's wicked.
No, you can't record that.
You can.
Even Rick Beato says you can't record
Well,
that.
I don't disagree with Rick on many things.
I watched Rick's drum tuning tutorials.
Well, did Doug on the EP didn't have a hole in his drum kit? And we just put the mic up. It sounds fantastic.
He's got a pillow in there though.
Yeah, put a pillow in it then.
Ah, no.
Well, if you cut a hole in it, you'll be sticking stuff in there.
Yeah, it's going to have a thing in it in the bottom, and then you can then mic inside and outside.
Fair enough.
Rick says you have to for
Okay.
the studio.
Okay.
The guy who owned it before was a big band drummer. He liked the boom. I like the toms and the snare to like ring.
Right.
I like that, but
See, I love concert toms. I love like no bottom skin on. You know, we were 70s.
I bet you like rotor toms. Don't
Oh
you?
yeah, man! Come on.
You'll notice that we do have. If you just
Oh,
if you
wow.
excuse yourself for a second, Daniel, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
people can see the drum kit.
Sure,
Drum kit.
sure.
We do have another drum, but all my favourite drummers do this.
Yeah.
So that's it. Actually, that's not strictly true. I was watching some Steve Gadd videos.
Ah,
I
man.
was watching Steve Gadd videos. Blimey.
I still haven't seen him live yet.
Well, when he comes
I
over.
was listening to him on the car on the way up, the Steve Gadd band, and
Oh, is that what you were listening to?
Yeah.
Is that when you arrived?
Yes.
I was going to say, what is that? That sounds great.
Steve Gadd band
Is that with Lando on guitar?
with Landau on guitar, of course.
It's a phenomenal record. The last record they did was such a great record.
Yep. And it was just called Norma's Girl.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Yeah. Totally. I'm joining from San Antonio, Texas, says Jesse Markovitz. And thank you for your generosity, Jenny. Jesse. Apologies. Our dog trainer is called Jenny. That's what that's all about. Jesse Markovitz. San Antonio. I've been there. All along the Riverwalk. All she did was talk. Lyle Lovett.
Oh.
Yeah.
How was
And he was interested in Mi Tierra's Huevos Rancheros.
Oh. About 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, hello to San Antonio. I stood next to a bear in San Antonio. Oh, I wonder if I still got that picture. It wasn't a real bear. It was in a shop. Anyway, Jesse says, when you're purchasing on a budget, would you purchase an expensive guitar and a budget amplifier all the other way around?
So it's so interesting.
Depends what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. Oh man. Because you're going to say expensive amplifier.
If you're going to play out every day of the week, cheap guitar, expensive amp.
Yeah.
If
My answer might have been different 10 years ago, but you can pick up budget guitars now that are absolutely fine. It is stunning the difference plugging into a really great amplifier will make. So I'm going to have to concur at this stage. Only growing up, if you were buying a real budget guitar, they were howlers.
Yeah.
But now the budget guitars are amazing. I can't see. That is fantastic. Show me.
That's me in San Antonio with a massive bear. Or is it a lion? Is it? There's a lion.
It's a lion.
Wasn't a bear at all. It was a lion. There you go. Just to prove. There we are at the that thing that's famous.
Oh,
The really famous thing.
not the OK Corral. It's the
They'll be screaming it in the
the
contents.
last like come on.
It's really famous.
The
The Alamo.
Alamo.
Yeah.
When was that?
And there's me choosing which guitar I wanted.
Oh, stop. Oh, that's fantastic.
That was a hell of a trip. That was my 40th birthday trip.
How
and
lovely.
My wife took me to Texas and we went to Austin and, oh man, just amazing. Totally amazing. We're never going to get through these questions, Dan.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
But I never want to go home.
If you want to play out and you want to sound good, you need a good amp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which people might disagree with now because there are so many great direct options. So you could buy something like a Helix or a Kemper, but that's not budget, they're expensive, and go direct. But if you're talking about me and Dan and the kind of things that we like and the sounds that we like, i.e. playing in a sort of fairly traditional rock and roll type band with people who can play in a musical environment, yes, we like guitar amps. And you're going to get way further with a really decent amp and a rubbish guitar. And by rubbish, I don't mean rubbish. I mean something like my Casino, for example, bought for 270 quid on
amazing
on eBay, and I'll choose to play that guitar because I really like it. Yeah. So, but if you've got any of our really fancy ass guitars here, at £3,000 or £4,000, and you plug them into some, budget amp, you might get a good sound out of it. But I think it's going to be much harder.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, but if you're not playing out and you just really want to love that guitar and, it's a big deal for you to own a really expensive guitar and, you've got that thing that we've all got about guitars, you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it and you wake up in the morning, you look at it, all that kind of stuff, then for sure.
I still do that.
Yeah, me too.
I'd love it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. I remember once I was doing a gig in Newquay and we had a band called Mad Dogs and Englishmen, and Leighton, the bass player, singer, and he said, I was just sat there looking off in the distance, and Leighton says, Dan, what are you thinking about? I went, just thinking about my tone. And he wet himself. And then whenever he'd bring it up years later and just wet himself. It was, very funny. But you sit down and you're pondering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Twiley, or Twilly, don't have a chat from you. Let's see if Bev has texted me or emailed me. No, he hasn't. So, no. Nice Yellow Dog, same, from Switzerland. Nico Yellow Dog, sorry, not Nice
Nico.
Yellow Dog.
Oh,
Nico
Nico.
Yellow Dog from Hello to Switzerland there. Airfire says, I convinced my dad to go see Ainsley Lister in November.
Oh, fantastic.
Based on the TPS thing you did with him. Would love another one with the three of you on what he's learned since. We might be able to do that, actually. I was talking to Ainsley a couple of days ago, and he's getting ready to go out, and he phoned me, and he was in two minds about whether to go with the new rig or whether to just keep it simple. And I said, well, tell you what, I'll come along to a rehearsal and we'll just get it dialed in for you. Because he's just so used to going guitar, volume knob, cranked amp, simple pedals, old school, which, a lot of people are still adamant that it's the very best way to do things. But, Ace just wants a bit more variation.
Yeah.
And he wants to be able to sit back on it a bit and, use a bit of delay and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we might do that. I don't really want to give him the hassle of bringing in cameras and filming while he's doing that because it's work and getting ready for a tour. But I dare say we could get him in here again once we've done that.
Band in.
Yeah, I said to him, bring the band in and we'll do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Scott McKeon, also, just speaking of that, I went and saw Scott just briefly to say hi a few weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago now. down at
Real World,
the Real World, and here's someone else I desperately want to get on, because he does that thing, man. That that Strat thing.
Oh, he's amazing.
Seriously,
he's proper good.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Scott is, Scott McKeon, McKeon, Scott McKeon, and Scott's just released a really spectacular piece of work, produced by Paul Stacey, Dan's mate Paul Stacey, with Jeremy Stacey on drums, Rocco Palladino on bass, and some other people whose names escape me. Apologies to them. It's just a brilliant record. If you like that kind of thing, the sort of blues, Hendrix, post, it's a wonderful thing.
Is he playing at Ronnie Scott's this weekend?
So much vibe.
Yeah. Anyway, I really want to get them on. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Mike K says, I loved the love for the Hudson Broadcast last week in the budget challenge. The week before, I'd been relishing the switch of Mick Fuzz volume Cleanup Joy. How close is the Broadcast to a vintage fuzz circuit?
Not close at all. Completely different.
Yeah.
What it is basically a Neve channel preamp based around that. Dialed in more specifically for guitar, but that's the basis of that circuit is a Neve preamp.
Yeah. And in terms of the cleanup, so if you think about the sort of modern fuzz, well, not the modern, the classic fuzz variants, classic either germanium or silicon fuzz face tends to clean up pretty well off the guitar. Tone benders usually not quite so well, but it depends on which tone bender it is. Big muffs not really that well at all, but again it depends. So there's a lot of variance in vintage fuzzes as well. Broadcast does pretty good job actually. Clean up, but nothing really does it like a vintage fuzz face. But then you bring all the problems of a vintage fuzz face,
Indeed.
of which the Broadcast has none.
Indeed.
So, yeah. Love the show, says Ryan Light. He says, quick question. Why do you think people put so much importance on vintage guitars? All our guitar heroes who we want to sound like played them, but when they did, they were brand new.
It's very true.
It's a great question.
When Jimi Hendrix set fire to the guitar at Woodstock, well, no, it was Isle of Wight, wasn't it? He said, give me one of the old ones.
Monterey as well, I think.
So give me one of the old ones, and there was a 64 ended up. So, yeah, it was a very different thing. I think it's more about the spec. We want those guitars to be as close as possible to the guitars those heroes. So it's like, for example, if you think about the guy that played the 335, played Steely Dan,
Larry Carlton.
That and that 335, such an iconic instrument, And as Mick was talking about before, talking about the Strats, the production techniques change as the years go on, and some of those techniques make more of a difference than others. When we want to get back to, if we want a guitar that does that thing, sometimes, it's hit and miss, right? Because you can find a guitar 2 serial numbers away from that one, it'll sound completely different. But there's
all I'll say is that just because they were new then doesn't mean they don't sound better now.
Totally. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that who's to say that I don't know, pick a famous old guitar, Clapton's Blackie. Although to be fair, it was already, if you think whatever that was, a 50, I don't know what it turned out to be, like a 56 and a 57 or a 55 and a 58, whatever it was. 2 different guitars and bodies and necks from the 50s. By the time he played Layla on it, what was that, 74?
Right.
Something like that, mid-70s. Yeah. So it was already 20 years old by the time he got to it. Who's to say that in the next 20 years it didn't sound better?
Sure.
So in 94 it didn't sound better again, but then in 2064 it might sound a lot worse.
Yeah.
That's what we don't know about vintage guitars, because really in the idiom of vintage guitars, electric guitars, it starts at 1950, give or take, right? I mean, obviously there were guitars before that, but if we think about the Telecaster, birth of the solid body electric guitar, it kind of comes of age through the 1950s, and by the end of the 50s, it's more or less done. But for, I don't know, rosewood boards, the Jaguar, and some other cool stuff that happened in the 60s, but the vast bulk of the development had been done by the end of the 50s, given that the Strat, the Tele, 335, Flying V, Explorer, SG, actually SG was the 60s. So 65, let's go to 65. Who's to say that just because George used his 64 SG in 1966 or 67, whenever he used it, it doesn't sound way better today. And that's what we don't know.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are true. So, for example, Honduran mahogany, a specific weight density ratio that most Gibson fans would agree is an important part of the tonal soup of a vintage Gibson that has mahogany in it. The old big leaf maple, etc., etc. They weren't all big leaf maple as far as I understand it, but forget the specific detail to just say that those bits of wood that they're using today are not the same bits of wood that they were using years ago. Brazilian rosewood. You know, nobody wants to cut any more flipping rosewood trees down if we can really help it.
Sure.
My God, it sounds good on a guitar.
How many Strats would Fender have made in 1964?
I could tell you that. So what were they up to? 60-some thousand by then? Maybe more than that. And that's serial numbers. That's not necessarily the number of guitars. Strat serial numbers 1960s. I think 61 was 50,000, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, so 64, well, we're into the L's there, so
yep.
63, they were 90,000 plus.
Right.
And they went, and that's serial numbers, remember, that's not necessarily guitars.
How many guitars then? In roughly a year in the 60s.
So from 1950 to 54, up to serial number 6,000.
So they made 6,000 guitars in 4 years. Okay, that just
6,000 serial numbers.
Okay, but that's fine. So 6,000 serial numbers.
Yeah,
over 4 years. So let's say.
But by the time we get to 1961,
yeah,
in that year alone, there are 20,000 serial numbers.
Okay, fine.
So it is a.
So in 1961, they made 20,000 guitars.
20,000 serial numbers. 20,000 serial numbers.
How many guitars would Fender have made in 2021?
Oh, yeah, way more than that.
Right. So it's very different, that process. And I'm a big believer in you change the process, you change the outcome.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I don't know. You see the videos of them making those guitars back then, and there's just, you know, artisans' hands on them. I think that's part of the reason why the custom shop things are so good, because it does hark back to that thing where people who really, really know what they're doing. Not that the normal guys don't, but these guys who are, you know, luthiers and, you know, really know how to put a guitar together. It sort of harks back to that. Yeah,
and there is that sort of common argument against that says no, they were designed to be mass produced with parts bin type assembly, but that doesn't mean that people that putting them together didn't have some skill about how that was done. Anyway, yeah, I would top that all off by saying all the best guitars I've ever played have all been vintage guitars.
Yep.
In terms of what they've brought out of me as a guitar player. Flip side of that is I don't really own any. I've never been in a position to own any. When I was talking to Thomas Blug about this last week, when I first started on Guitarist magazine, aged 21, 22, something like that, that's when I first realised that vintage guitars were cool.
Right.
And at that point, you could get a nice 60s Strat for about $5,000. But $5,000 in 1996, my yearly salary in 1996 was £8,500. I started on £8,500
Wow.
for a whole year's salary, right? And so that guitar would have been over half my year's money.
Right.
Way over half my year's money. Now, I noticed that ATB yesterday put a 64 battered, not that nice finish. And, you know, there was a time when people didn't think 64 was that desirable, for 18,000 quid. So they just keep going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And someone less idiotic would have got in earlier. And I just never did.
Yeah. That's the question, though. I'll finish by saying, if you haven't tried vintage guitars, you know, go and try one.
Yeah, play one. Some people just don't get it.
Yeah.
Some people just don't get it. They don't understand why you would want, like, potentially a higher action, a curvier fingerboard, something that you have to fight with, when so many modern guitars are just so effortless to play.
Yeah.
But I definitely find that if I play a guitar that's like butter smooth, low action, the minute I get to a gig, I just can't play it.
Sure.
I'm
absolutely
overbending, I'm overgripping.
Man.
Whereas give me something that's painful and requires, and that's not, there's nothing true about that. It's purely experience.
Yeah. Yep.
And not necessarily good experience. It's just my experience.
Totally. I remember, yeah. I know, we've got a lot to get through, but I could go on about this for ages.
Yeah. I've also played a great deal of awful vintage guitars.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see where we are. Oh my God, we're going to be all night down.
I don't mind. Seriously, I might stay here.
Neil Hopkins. I'm using a Helix 4-cable method into a PRS Archon. When I connect the Helix to the amp channel switch with a cable from the Bestronics, I'm getting a ground hum. Any quick fixes? Okay, so PRS Archon amp, Helix 4-cable method, and then he's using the Helix to switch the amp channel, and that is causing a ground hum.
Right.
Any ideas?
Well,
that shouldn't cause. I mean, that shouldn't cause it. There should be
the
no
switch
signal.
the switch should be isolated, but it might be that you have that hum there anyway in the clean channel. You just can't hear it as distinctly as you can when the gain channel's turned on. So you've just got an earth loop somewhere. Somewhere you need to isolate the signal. Helix, I don't know.
Start by unplugging the amp channel switcher from the Helix and just do it from the amp and see if that causes the hum.
Yeah,
And if it doesn't, then yes, it's either the cable or the switch in the Helix.
Yeah. Tricky.
Might be. I don't know. Neither of us know the Helix. It might be there's a ground lift on that switch, but there shouldn't need to be because there's no audio.
No, but the thing is, if you've got I think that it's a ground hum that's there all the time. You can just hear it when the gain channel comes on. But because you've got that connection there's 3 connections between the Helix and the amplifier. So in there somewhere you've got earth loops. So what would the solution to that be? A humdinger on the effects loop? A humdinger actually probably on the input of the amplifier. So the effects loop at the back of the amplifier, you've got your effects send and return, and because that ground plane is basically the same, they're really close together. If you isolate the ground on the input and you're using the amplifier's effects send and return as your ground, then that should be fine. So, yeah, see if you can isolate from the send going into the input of the amplifier. So I'm assuming you're plugging into the helix, send into the amplifier from the helix, and then effects loop thing from there, as opposed to just having the helix in the effects loop. Yeah, tricky.
I didn't switch Super Chat off. We could be completely screwed here.
Yes, wicked.
When you turn it on, it'll just let you turn it on. When you turn it off, you have to go through 3 turn off things. Oh God. Sorry guys, we may not get through them all tonight. We might have to pick this up next week, and we're really sorry. Oh no.
I don't mind.
I don't know about you, Dan. But we've got to be in central London at 8 AM tomorrow morning, which is a 4:30 start for me.
Just come back with me.
I can't do that. Okay. Don't.
It's called the Broken Thumb Blues. Ow, don't do that.
We are
Idiots.
grateful for all the super chats, by the way. So
Yeah, it's amazing, guys. Thank you.
my annoyance is at YouTube. SRV Tech EJ has super chatted again, but has no question. So we don't know if there is a question for you somewhere in there. Seattle Phil, hello Phil.
Hey, Phil.
He says leg ends, aka feet. For the stereo effects loop in my Orange Rocker 32, is there a difference between a stereo flanger, for example, the Earthquaker Pyramids, and a stereo and a wet dry one like the Thorpe Camouflage?
I don't know the Pyramids. So what you might have in a true stereo effect, you'll have effect going modulating left and right. In basically a wet dry effect that they call stereo, it splits the modulation from the dry signal. So if you think of a chorus or a flanger, you've got a dry signal, it's split, one side of that is modulated, and then mixed back together, you get your chorus or flanger. In the stereo application, that is split. So you basically get a vibrato on one side and your dry signal on the other. In a true stereo pedal, instead of getting a dry signal and a modulated signal, both signals have dry and modulated, doing different things.
I think the EQD might be a separate stereo flanging.
Right.
I think.
Cool.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But yes, they can be different.
Yeah. Zach Rivard, with possibly some fighting talk, says, Happy Traitors Day from the States. It's him saying that, not us, all right. He says, I've been watching since lockdown last year and have since gone from an acoustic-only guy to somebody successfully learning how to play an amp and pedals. Go Fuzz.
Fantastic, mate. Well done.
Good on you, Zach. Nicolas Rojas says, any advice for a young musician? I don't know what pedal I should buy. It's going to be my first pedal. My budget is $400. Thanks for everything.
Love this question. I was thinking about this today. So you walk into a music store and you've been hearing all the stuff about pedals. What's the first pedal you buy? Okay, depends on the guitar and amp that you use. It's really important. You always have to consider those, especially the amp. Depending on how you're using the amplifier. If you're using, if you've got an amplifier that's got gain stages in the amplifier, and you might want to put a delay in the effects loop, for example. But more commonly, you want to start looking at gain stages. So your first pedal, for most of us, our first pedal was an overdrive pedal, make more distorted pedal. So a really good way to make a decision on the first pedal that you ever buy is, find some guitar sounds that you really like. And think about how much, for example, if you're a big Slayer fan, for example, and you want a really heavy distorted tone with a scoop mid, that would lead you to a different sort of distortion than if you were, say, a Joe Satriani fan or a Joe Bonamassa fan. It's about identifying the gain range that that you like, and then finding something that will work with the amp that you've got. So, for example, I would, my first ever overdrive pedal, I think, was a turbo distortion pedal, Boss Turbo Distortion, and it was fantastic. But what that led me to from there is I learned about what I liked about that pedal and what didn't work for me. But yeah, just identify that gain range, and then work out from there whether it's a sort of lower bluesier thing, whether it's a really high gain thing. And then do some research there. But if that's your first pedal, you've got a great budget to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I bought my first pedals because I needed them.
Right.
I had a Fender Twin.
There you go.
And I needed overdrive.
Yeah.
And some heavy overdrive at that. So.
What was the first one you got?
I had 2 yellow Boss overdrives, and to this day I can't remember if it was an SD one and a turbo one, or whether it was an OD one and an SD one.
It wasn't a turbo one. No, it was a turbo one, and then I got a super feedbacker.
Yeah, okay, I remember that. Yeah. So it's don't I would say don't spend your money if there's nothing that you particularly need. So don't spend any money till you go, right, I want a sound, I want the delay sound that the Edge has got. So now I need a delay. So it's about identifying the sound that you want to get. And if you've got a guitar store near you with a bunch of pedals, take your guitar with you and go in there and just annoy the heck out of them for the whole day and try a bunch of stuff. It's the only way. Yeah. Man, I remember I would do that we had 2 music stores in America, one in a big shopping centre and one across the road. And I remember if I liked something, I'd play it in one, and then I'd go across and play it in the other, and go one. And I would go back and forth 10 times, and each time I go, I'd get $1 off. No, I get $1 off there, and I get $1 off there. I was terrible, but it was brilliant fun. I mean, I was poor. Anyone watching this who's worked in a music store will know Dan. You're that guy.
I am.
You're the guy why music store shop staff have a bad reputation, because one of them eventually just tells you where to go.
And one of them did.
Michael Plumridge wants to know what are our thoughts on bass 6 style instruments, Fender bass 6. I'm having JML guitars craft one for me with a Novak BSDS6, and I'm beyond excited at the possibilities.
So the only bass 6 I ever played, I was in London doing a pedal board for our mate from Blur.
Graham Coxon.
Graham Coxon, thank you. Sorry, blinking head. And I'd seen Graham play at Glastonbury, and his band, they were amazing. And girl bass player was playing this Fender
bass 6,
the bass 6. Yeah. And it was in his studio, stood in the corner. I'm like, oh, that's the guitar. He goes, oh, yes. And so that's the only one I've ever played. It was incredible. Just, it puts you in a very, very different headspace than playing a normal guitar.
I can play baritone guitar okay, because you can play chord voicings on a baritone guitar, and that makes sense, and they sound really cool. Yeah. I tried to do that on a bass 6 and just got nowhere. Not the same thing at all. So I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
No, I did meet Jet Harris once, though, who's very famous for playing a bass 6.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Kevin Rebong. Kevin says, I'm a telly guy like Dan and lean towards mixed taste for effects. I want a Gibson-style guitar. Any advice on searching for a trebly Les Paul like Dan's?
I don't have any advice, because it took me 4 years. From the time I started looking for a Les Paul to the time I found the Les Paul that I really liked, took me a long time. I played a lot of guitars in that time, and I was amazed at the variation in tone.
There is trebly and there is trebly. So it might be fair to say that a really nice 58 to 60 style burst reissue type guitar, custom shop style guitar, can be a very bright, resonant, airy sounding thing. I played plenty of standards, particularly from the 80s and 90s, that had piercing treble.
Yeah, right, okay.
And it's not the same thing at all.
No,
and
that's
so
interesting.
It depends what you want. I mean, if you want a vintage Les Paul type tone, then with the caveat that I haven't played any of the new standards.
Right.
So since JC took over, Gibson changed. They certainly look good. I don't know. It used to be before that era, a sort of Les Paul standard out of Nashville was a very different guitar to a 58 to 60 style burst reissue. Very different. However, there are some things that might help. Definitely look for a guitar that has vintage style PAF pickups. So potentially avoid the ceramic pickups that come in some new Les Pauls, and certainly did for a long time. That gives you a good shot at it. Make sure it's got 50s wiring, and you could do that as a retrofit if you wanted to. That, with a really nice set of PAF type pickups and 50s wiring, you've got access to a whole bunch of much lighter sounds than this kind of bludgeoning mid-range thing which some Les Pauls have, but you can't get away from that in some Les Pauls, especially if they're overly heavy body. Some of them just seem to do that mid-range hammering thing. So all that said, you could check out a junior type instrument with P90s, and I think you've got a better chance. If you like tellies, it might be that stepping towards a junior would be an easier transition for you. And not necessarily a junior, like there are Les Pauls with P90s, so gold tops, 52 to 55, 6 style gold top could be the thing, rather than humbuckers. But again, you're into that vintage specific thing with gold tops, where once it's got the carved maple top on it. Play a couple juniors and see what you think.
Yeah. Oh, and finally, a really important thing playing with humbuckers is learn about the volume controls, because this was a revelation to me. My tellies I've always played in 10, very rarely, a little bit of play there, but, generally on 10. But with the PAF style humbuckers in there, I mean, knocking it down to just under 9 is, I think, where I live most of the time now on this. And
50s wiring will really help that as well.
Yeah, it's a great thing for getting the, tightening up a little bit, getting a bit of that. Yeah, amazing.
And it's a generalisation, but I have found it to be true. Look for a lightweight guitar.
Yeah.
I've done it with a few guitars where I've been able to choose between a number. Did it with my DGT, and the heavier they were, the heavier they sounded.
Wow.
For that particular guitar. And it's my experience with Les Pauls. Might not be everyone's, but good luck. Dan Cobley says, I had a mental health stitch a while back and sold everything. I think I know how you feel. I went from all boutique stuff to a katana. I want to get a proper setup again, but I don't know where to start and money is tight. Do you have any ideas? Depends what you're doing, Dan.
Yeah, really good point.
If you want to play out again, and that's your goal, I
Start
would
with the amp.
Totally look at the aforementioned Fender Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah.
A couple nice pedals and a half decent guitar, and I think you can go so far down the road with that.
Totally. totally.
So far down
Yep.
the road. We keep saying we want to do a show that's like, what do you get after a Hot Rod Deluxe?
Yeah.
Because you kind of got a double the price or triple, haven't you?
Yeah. You get a Hot Rod Deluxe and you can go in directions,
Yeah.
but it's, not a huge,
Yeah.
not really forward, Different places you can go, but the Hot
Yeah,
Rod
yeah.
Deluxe is such a wonderful starting place. If, I've seen so many of them live and they've always sounded fantastic.
Or if you're a Marshall diehard or that side of the fence, then something like a DSL 50. And we totally would urge you to look on reverb.com or eBay and buy used as well. I mean, you save so much money buying stuff used. And with guitars anyway, it's a bit of a punt because you don't exactly know what you're going to get. With amps, so you might have to do a bit of retubing or... I mean, I've bought so much stuff used over the years.
Oh, totally.
So that could be an option.
We're the trading post in Australia. Man alive, I hammered that thing.
If you're not going to play out, if it's for home, then then you're in that whole challenge of something that sounds great at low volume, and that's hard.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat something like the Katana or Yamaha THR or Boss Wazza headphones in that environment. I think if you're talking about properly quiet,
yeah, totally.
like not annoying the sleeping baby quiet. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
That's tough. Have a look. Just start perusing. Put your credit card somewhere where you can't reach it, and start perusing Reverb.
yeah.
Justin Baylog. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
He says, my wife wants to thank TPS for encouraging me to build a wet-dry rig around a pair of old 60s Vibrachamps.
First of all, your wife is amazing.
Well, she says, it's massive, inspiring, and under 90 dB. That's why.
That's great.
Yeah. I bet that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I bet it's incredible.
Absolutely killer. And actually, Dan, from the previous question, if it is for low volume use, not in the case of 60s Vibrachamps, they're going to be a bit more expensive, but 2 little amps in a wet dry thing.
Yeah, totally.
Wet dry doesn't need to be that complex. It can just be delay in one amp and not in the other, or, a chorus in one and not in the other. That can be really huge, inspiring sounds at low volume at home for not too much cash.
Yeah, totally.
And for that, use pretty much anything.
I've forgotten how lovely this guitar is because it's sat in there looking at the gold top going, you think you're all that? Because that is the best Les Paul I've ever played.
Dan's talking about the, which is going to have to go back to Nev at some point soon. This is a Tom Murphy 57 true historic gold top of the tree, pre-Murphy Labs. It is the best Les Paul either of us have ever heard that isn't an old one.
Yeah, it's astonishing. It's so loud. 3, 2, 1, and.
It's like the Allman Brothers all over again.
The Almond Milk Brothers.
The Almond Brothers. Maybe the Walnut Brothers. The Dried Walnuts Brothers. Evening, Dan and Mick and BV. You getting the
Oh, it's the best.
ring of the kit? Love it. Says Adrian Jordan, are pedal jams making a comeback?
Not yet.
One of the things we're doing, Adrian, people didn't like pedal jams because they thought they were just paid for pedal demos. And that really hurts me to my very core, unfortunately, because we just would never do that. But not because there's anything wrong with doing it, but just because we don't do it.
Yeah. Because there are people out there who just are brilliant at it.
Yeah, and it's not what TPS is about. So people didn't like pedal jams for that reason, or that was one of the reasons people didn't like pedal jams. We are working on our live operation, which is part of what this is about. I see a future of...
Tell us about the future, Mick.
gonna have like flying cars, and the dinosaurs are coming back. And there is a future where we do some things in real time with actual proper musicians, and I feel very good about that.
Yeah, be fun.
Pedal jams was quite stressful because we'd have to make a backing track, have it blasting at us at like 103 dB. It's just a bit stressful, and nobody liked it. And the views were low. Actually, that's not true that nobody liked it. Not enough people liked it to make the production worthwhile is the truth.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll try and do it in a better way. William Turner. In which order should my pedals go through my Boss ES8, Boss RV500, MD500, and a CS3, Ryra Klon, and Ibanez Super Tube Screamer? Right.
Reverb at the end.
Reverb at the end. Compressor sustainer.
Right at the start.
Right at the start. So we go CS3, we go Tube Screamer, we go Klon, we go MD500, RV500.
Very good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And if you like the sound of your choruses and flangers before overdrive, stick them before the overdrives. Or you might want to put the MD before the Klon, so you could have your Klon after. But if you're running stereo, which you might be, then you will need to put the RV and the MD last in order to get the stereo signal path.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. Cody Myers. Myers. I play a Telly and a deluxe reverb and I want a new guitar. I'm deciding between a Junior and a 335. Is it worth considering a 335 with P90s?
Yeah, so a 335 with P90s?
They
Is that a thing?
They do exist.
Wow,
They do exist. They're not super common.
I mean, totally worth considering that.
Yeah.
It's certainly more in the... I mean, the Juniors are wonderful as well. The thing, because you've got a Telly, you already have that bridge pickup thing that the Telly does. The Junior is in a different place, but a 335 with P90 is in a much different place. But it has a top end to it. Well, will have a top end to it. And I'm sure it'll be amazing and more of a variation than just a single P90 style Junior thing. I'd go that way.
Yep. And Cody, with apologies if you do know this, but some people don't. A more common thin line semi with P90s is a 330 style. So 335 you know all about. Humbuckers, solid centre section. We know all about that. And as I just said, they do exist with P90s, but they're not very common. I don't know if you are or not, and again, apologies, you might be thinking about this, which is a 330 style. So instead of the solid centre section, it's completely hollow. And that's a different thing, not least that the neck is set in at a different spot. There's fewer available frets. But this is a really cool guitar. Epiphone Casino, not too expensive. P90s, sounds the bomb. You could also consider, for something that is sort of in between all of that, you could consider one of the semi-hollow Gretches.
Yeah, they're great.
Might be a good shout as well. Check out some of the Electromatic series Gretches for a sort of different take on that whole deal. But we wish you luck. We wish you luck. Ryan Long says yes. It's been a while since I've been able to join live.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for your generosity. He says, greetings from Rockville, Maryland. Rockville. See, now that's the place to come from, isn't it?
The mayor of Rockville.
Yeah.
Population, you.
Curious if either of you have tried the 1981 Inventions Drv. Been pairing it with the Benson preamp, and it's just awesome.
I haven't tried it.
No, he said he was going to send us one, and then we never got round to it. It's in the same way that isn't a Klon just a fancy tube screamer? Isn't it just a fancy rat?
Apparently.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a fancy rat.
Yeah. Be interesting to try it next to the Rattler, wouldn't it? Everyone
Yeah.
says it's awesome, so it must be awesome.
Yep.
We should try one. We should get one. Soren Ledet. Hello, Soren.
Hey, mate.
Haven't heard from you for a while. Hope you're doing okay. He says, thanks for all the great content and knowledge you keep sharing. You guys are awesome. Mick, have you ever thought about using a Klon KTR to save space? Also, the preamp in the UA Starlight does make a difference. All the best from Denmark. Yes, so they've released the app for the Starlight.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Right. Klon KTR. No matter what Bill Finnegan says that it is exactly the same, it is not. It's not
Indeed.
the same. Which is not to say it's worse. I like the KTR very much.
It's a great pedal.
I do like it very much. I've just never got around to buying one.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
No.
It's not made the same way.
Very different. Very different.
Therefore, it is not the same. Those are facts. Which is not to say worse or better or any other hierarchical measure of value.
Mm-hmm.
But they are different.
They're different.
And I love my Klon.
I was looking for Klons the other day.
I mean, pretty high. I love my Klon in a high manner.
Yeah.
Like, if I think about my life, it's probably, you know, I don't want to be hierarchical about it, and there's probably some other things to slot in, but, you know, my
It's up there.
wife, number one, I would say. And then, you know,
then
you're up there.
Oh, well, Klon and me around there.
And then I would say everything else jostles with the Klon below that. So,
Oh, mate.
yeah, they sound great. I borrowed Danish Pete's a couple times. Really like the sound of it, but never been motivated enough to buy one, purely for the issue of saving space. I'd probably use the Ryra, the Klon,
Yeah.
because we have it. And actually went back to using my slightly bigger pedal board just recently, so I could fit the Klon on.
Yeah. And every time Mick turns the Klon on, something happens. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Even if it is 99.987%. Have you cut yourself down?
I'm covered in cuts and it's ridiculous. It's all right. I'll carry on.
Moving house. You know, even if it is almost entirely, in fact, even if it is entirely psychosomatic, I'll take it.
Yeah, totally. Because
it's
real.
still a thing.
Absolutely, man.
And I don't know about you, but I've never yet met a human who is in charge of their brain enough to completely get rid of everything that's psychosomatic.
Of course.
I hope I never meet that person. They would be scary. Good to hear from you, Soren. Really nice to hear from you, man. Giovanni Botta says, I followed your advice and got a Tone King Imperial Mark II.
Wow.
My guitars came alive.
There you go.
By the way, did you hear the latest Julian Lage record? It's amazing. Thank you.
No, but I'll listen to it on the way home.
I have to gear myself up for this stuff. I have to be in an okay mental state to listen to stuff that's going to be totally mind-blowing.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll listen to it and I'll be like... I mean, he is just...
Yeah. Yeah, he really is.
Thanks for the heads up on that. Soldier on Music says, Mick, saying most heroes were Strat players really hit me. Most were guitar first bands. I love the guitar, but their songs don't resonate on a visceral level for me. Do you fight the love guitar versus love songs in your music like me? Okay.
Great question.
Really, really great question. So we said in the Strat video, we sort of posed the question that were most guitar heroes Strat players, which of course you can come up with a list of many who aren't Strat heroes, but a lot of the big ones definitely are. Anyway, so love guitar versus love songs. That's really interesting.
Very interesting.
I'd split that down even further. Love guitar versus love guitar playing.
Wow.
Love guitar versus
Love music.
love music.
Yeah.
And I definitely love guitars more than music or songs or playing the guitar, which is a pretty strong thing to say.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
And I love music, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, totally. I love guitar. I love the sound of guitar.
Yeah.
And then you look at the thing, it's like, it's just the coolest thing in the world. Yeah. It's really interesting. When I was, ever since I was a kid, it's just sonically the guitar got me. And that's where I started. Music came later for me. But now I'm so inspired when I hear amazing harmony and stuff, and it just really ticks the cerebral box for me. I find it so interesting. But nothing, when I hear an amazing guitar being played, yes, of course we all know that it's the player behind doing its thing, but when you hear a sound, like I listen to old AC/DC, and regardless of the same 3 chords we played over and over, when I hear that guitar sound, it absolutely floors me to my core.
It's not that hard, Mark. Come on, Mark. Spell AC/DC.
ADDC?
I got this. I know this. Hang on. A-D... Oh, no!
Come on, Mark. It's not that hard. Yeah.
If you've never listened to it, guy trying to spell AC/DC to win tickets to go and see AC/DC on Australian radio.
Makes me so proud.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? There are, when I hear those sounds, that will stay with me forever.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. I think, saying I love guitar, I think it's the feeling of guitar and the resonance that it has as a human. Weirdly, I'm not a massive fan of guitar music, despite being editor of Guitar Magazine for working on guitar magazines for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't listen to anything now that doesn't have singing in it, unless it's Andy Timmons or Michael Landau, probably.
Sure.
I mean, there might be the odd thing here and there, obviously, but the vast majority of music I listen to is singer-songwriters, or massive pop.
Right. With no guitars.
Well, with guitar playing a semi-supporting role.
Sure.
So that's interesting. It's interesting. In terms of the music I would choose to play, I'd much rather play a song with vocal harmony than a song with a fantastic guitar solo.
Yeah.
So that might answer the question on my behalf.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone has those moments that they remember. I remember hearing the guitars in War of the Worlds for the first time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And just being so totally blown away.
Yeah, yeah.
And and then you hear. I remember when I first heard Eat 'Em and Smile.
Oh man.
And
I love
the songs were fun and stuff, but far out. The sound of the guitar on that album.
Yeah. Actually, it's a mistake to try and separate it out, isn't it?
It's
like saying, what do you like, eggs or sugar or flour or butter?
Yeah, yeah. As opposed to...
What do you like best? And it's like, no, I like cake. I think I like cake. And it's just... I mean, cake's probably a bad example because you do need a fairly set ratio of ingredients to make a sponge. But
if Eat 'Em and Smile came out as an instrumental album, you'd probably go, yeah, it's really good.
It would be awful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Diamond Dave makes... I mean, without him going, every 2 minutes is nothing, is it?
But as a whole thing, I mean, I was... when I heard that album and just the sound of it and the rawness and everything, was like, that is rock and roll. That was rock and roll to a 17-year-old me.
That's my favourite Steve Vai guitar sound ever.
Yeah, Flexible has some great sounds.
Yeah.
That Attitude song.
Oh yeah.
Man,
yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Great question, Soldier On. Great question.
Great question.
But yeah, music is visceral, isn't it? It's totally visceral. Ryan Long. Also, Dan, congrats on your purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty badass.
Cheers, mate. Thank you so much.
I would agree. The guy on the end of that thumb's got a pretty badass, is all I'm saying. That's how he got his submission, isn't it?
Tap, tap! In Jiu-Jitsu, we call that the oil check.
Yeah. Mad Crafter. Amazing generosity from you, Mad Crafter. Thank you so much. It's much appreciated.
Wow,
he says,
thank you, mate.
I have a rare form of gas. I can build things with ease. Custom acoustics and electric since 2003, 65 deluxe reverb, 63 JTM 45, and a Schmidt array clone with a QMX and gig rig power.
Wow.
But learning to play has been a decades-long struggle. Never give up.
Man, just keep showing up.
Yep.
Just keep showing up. What's amazing is, remember that when everyone started somewhere, everyone picked up a guitar for the first day, tried to play a D chord. And then everyone has a journey. But if you just, keep showing up, keep picking the guitar up, keep trying things. If you want to improve as a guitar player, picking up the guitar and playing the same things that you've been playing is awesome, and we all do it. But if you want to stretch yourself and then start to improve, then that's where putting the hours and stuff in. And for me, I find it the most fun thing in the world. And it's really challenging. But yeah, if you want to improve, there is so much amazing material out there to be able to help you do that. I cannot recommend enough finding a good guitar teacher that will give you real-time feedback. Is wonderful. Finding someone that you want to sound like as well. That if you're looking, anyone out there looking for a guitar teacher, if you want to play country, don't go to a guy that specializes in playing jazz. Find someone that plays the way that you want to play. That's really important.
For the first time in months, I opened up my TrueFire app.
Oh, fantastic! How good is TrueFire?
On Sunday morning. And I have a jazz bebop, 50 bebop licks.
Ah, nice.
And I forget the name of the tutor. I apologise. And some of the licks are so simple.
Right.
So there's this, what does he call it? Something about the seventh? And they're just, and there's another lick that goes, that's where I learnt that one. And that one.
Nice.
And there's very little string bending in any of it.
Yeah.
And then he'll do the, anyway, blah, blah, blah. And what my point of saying this is, I've got to a point in my playing where I'm capable of doing some semi-technical things reasonably well. And I haven't had as much fun as learning a bunch of really simple.
That's awesome.
Relatively simple. I get that it's relative depending on where you are in your guitar journey. But just cleanly playing simple, slow licks in a style that I have never...
Yeah.
I play, fancy ass blues licks all day long, but just having the discipline.
Yep. Absolutely. And the last thing I'm going to say, one of the best things that you can do is play melodies, because it's actually really, really hard. You can do all the you know, like Mick's saying with his fancy ass blues stuff. But until you can take a simple melody and make it work, then all the other stuff that you do around it isn't going to work. Well, it won't work as well. You know, I use Chris Buck as an example for this all the time. He sounds like he's singing when he plays guitar, because he's spent time listening to singers and the way they phrase and the way they use vibrato, and it's modelled his playing after that, and it's amazing. You know, some jazz stuff that I've been working on, and I'd go to play the head, and I'm like, man, that sounds awful. And so I've stopped doing all the stuff, and I'm just concentrating on being able to play the melody and make it sound good. When you get there, then build on that. Yep, start with melody.
Yep. I'm just going to tell you the name of that course because I know people will be asking. And I don't want to let anyone down. And I also want to give Tom Wolfe the recognition he deserves. 50 hard bop blues guitar licks
Nice.
you must know.
Very good.
It's
Really cool.
really cool.
Brilliant.
Tom Wolfe, 50 hard bop blues guitar licks you must know.
Yeah.
I've got to about 13, I think.
Killer.
Gets a bit difficult after that. Mark V says, I've got a Spectre NS6A, which I love, but I find the tone a bit weak on the bass end. Should I replace it or think about upgrading the pickups? Tough choice, that. Spectre, more famous for making basses.
Oh, yeah, right.
Look up Stuart Spectre and the history of his various bass designs, and we'll uncover some colourful stories. But they also did guitars. I think your guitar's got a double locking bridge on it, maybe a Floyd, and some fairly modern looking pickups. Now those, if it does have that floating bridge, they were never very good for bass end.
Right. That's not their thing.
Yeah, think
Yeah.
about a Gem, for example. Doesn't really have a lot of natural resonant bottom end like something like that would. Pickups could certainly make a difference. If
But
you
it's not
don't,
going to make the guitar more resonant, right? It's not
no,
gonna
if you
change
don't
the
use the
fundamental
trem,
frequencies.
you could try blocking it by putting a block of wood in between the back of the trem and the back of the guitar, which might help a little bit.
Will a Floyd Rose block like that?
Yeah,
I guess. Oh, okay. So you're talking about not about resting the guitar on the body.
no,
You're talking about
just
having a
put
bit
the
of
block
wood in there,
yeah.
blocking. Okay.
Yeah, because it's
Got
it's still got a sustain block like
Yeah.
like a Strat trem. Try an EQ pedal, add bass that way. Again, forgive me, I don't know the guitar very well. I think it's like a poly finished Far Eastern made guitar.
Okay.
So there's yeah, try an EQ pedal. I mean, you could certainly try and change the pickups. I think the issue you probably got with that guitar is its overall construction
Sure.
and finish. That means that it sounds a certain way, you know, which could well be a great advantage at volume and with gain and stuff. Probably has a very focused tone at that sort of thing. But if you're just not feeling it, then yeah, it's back to what Dan was saying earlier about he's just given up with modern guitars. It's like, nah, move it on and get something else that you do love. Again, you know, it depends entirely on the style of music you're playing, how loud you play, in what environment.
Go and try some other guitars before
Yeah.
you spend a bunch of money upgrading it. Go and find some other guitars and see if they instantly have that thing that you're looking for. Yeah, give that a go.
Eagle Ray Rob. Eagle Ray, thank you so much. Sorry, Rob. An Eagle Ray's a thing, a ray.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, right.
Rob, thank you so much for your generosity. That's super generous, man. Thank you. He says, because love.
Oh, man. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, Rob. He says, Mick, do you think a Strat's weight is an indicator in general of how it will sound? How would you quantify light, average and heavy as it relates to Strat weight? Do you know the weight of your Strats? It's so contentious. And yet, everyone I know prefers light Strats.
Yeah. Totally.
With a few interesting exceptions. I know people who've got a couple of real boat anchors and love them, and they sound great.
Yeah.
Ains, I think one of Ainsley...
Yeah, he's got a 70 something.
He's got a few 70s ones, and one of them is, you know, bit of a weight, and he loves that guitar. So I, you know, as with everything, there are always individual instruments that you could bring to mind that you really love. But I would say yes, and a Strat over, I think blue is about 3.5 kilos, which is getting off a heavy for a Strat.
Right.
Didn't we weighed them?
Did.
And they were the same weight.
Yeah.
So I don't know
So
what
not
that,
crazy like.
I don't know what that is in old money. 3.5 kilos to pounds. I think it's like just under 8 pounds, maybe. £7.7. I don't want it much heavier than that. My Maya Strat's a bit heavier. Transit Van is lighter. And I think if you ask anyone which of those guitars sounds best, it's Transit Van, then Blue, then the Maya. But that could equally be down to, you know, pickups and all the rest of it. So yeah, for me personally, I like them light. I think they resonate really well, and I like that. But it's not just about that, right? So it's about what pickup set goes with that. I was talking to Mike Eldred once from the custom shop, and he was telling me that certain body weights work better with, or in his opinion, worked better whether the neck was flat, riffed, or quarter sawn. So if they had a really stiff quarter sawn neck, he'd want that on a really light body.
Oh, wow.
Etc. As one opinion in the
Sure.
mix. And I think until you've played tons and tons and tons of them and you can really draw a personal opinion on it, it's very hard to say. My personal opinion is that my favourite Strats I've ever played have been probably between, you know, just under that 7.5 pound
Sure.
thing. I played some super featherlight ones, pine body ones, which I didn't like at all.
Yeah, right.
And my old, which I'm pointing to up there on the wall, which I can't get down because I think it's attached to the wall, the guitar that my dad bought me, my mum and dad bought me when I was 14 years old, is a boat anchor. And I played that guitar for years and years and years, and I cut my teeth on that guitar, and I learned how to play on that guitar. Probably did the best gigs I'll ever do in my life on that guitar. And yet, when I actually got to play, and I don't want to, it's going to make it sound, I'm not in any way ungrateful. What I am saying is that when I got to play a high-end Strat and an old one, I realised what a different instrument it could be. And that's purely personal. So I certainly know plenty of people who really like the heavy ones. Don't know how heavy Walter Trout's 70s one is. But then Ainsley's got a 70 that he brought in here that is literally weighs nothing.
Really?
And then one of his mid 70s ones is a super light one as well.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a very contentious subject. My personal preference is for light ones.
Sure.
And if you look at any decent guitar shop, they list the weight. So take what you will from that. Yeah, favorite delay that can do the TES thing in the best possible way, says Ryan Lopez. TES?
Tape Echo Simulator.
Oh, okay.
Gilmore? Pete Cornish, Tape Echo Simulator, TES.
Oh.
So, from memory, they are built around a DD2 or a DD3. And Pete does his thing with those, and they are phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So, okay, if what you want is a delay pedal that sounds like a tape,
one went for $4,000 on Reverb in January 2020.
yeah, they do. I mean, they're amazing. They're amazing. Where is the diamond?
Holy crap! Memory Lane Junior.
Diamond Memory Lane Junior.
You really like. I really like the Empress tape delay.
Yep, they're great.
They're really good with if you add a preamp to it. You could try. This is going to sound slightly crazy, but check out Dan's Frankenstein delay board build and the video that we did previous to that. It might be you could put together a little Frankenstein single delay head board, which has got a combination of delay, compression, filtering, and modulation.
And put it in a loop of an ape.
Yeah, for less than $4,000, which is what this TES was.
I mean, if someone said to me today, I need a tape delay pedal that sounds amazing, I'll probably go out and get a Strymon Volante. Now, the Volante also has Echo Rec style delays in it, but the tape delay in that sounds amazing. The El Capistan, the Strymon El Capistan, is phenomenal if you want something a bit simpler. But I love the Diamond Memory Lane Junior. Now, the TES though is different. It's got filtering on the repeats, but it's less of, for me, the TES has less of the blatant tape thing about it. It's more about the filtering, and in that case I'd be looking at the Free the Tone Flight Time.
Yep.
It has that that amazing filtering that enables you to shape those repeats. I think, if what you're after specifically is a TES thing, I'd be looking at a Flight Time.
Yeah. Tom Scoccia, Tom is Scioscia. Tom, I'm really sorry if I pronounce your surname wrong. Tom Scioscia. Confused about the Spectre guitar that we were talking about earlier, NS. Isn't that a bass? More commonly, yes, very commonly they are basses. There were some guitars. Check out, just Google Spectre NS6, and you'll find them there. Yes, I'm with Dan. Free the Tone Flight Time or Free the Tone Future Factory.
Yeah.
Have you played a Sun Dragon? Says Ryan Lopez.
A Sun Dragon.
Is that Analog Man? Well, no. Oh no, Jimmy Page's Sun Dragon amp. Sun Dragon amp. No, don't even know what it is. Sorry. That shows our... Sometimes you do have a fairly significant blind spot in your gear knowledge, and this is ours. Sun Dragon, Faithful Recreation, Jimmy Page, Perry Margaluf, and Mitch Colby. Oh, I know those names.
So it's a custom Marshall, is it?
Oh, it's the old blinking Supro.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, right, so... So started out life as a Supro Coronado, and it then got modded significantly after that. No, haven't played one. Would be really cool to do so. Yeah. Mr. Anderson 59 says, what am I missing by not clipping the bright cap in a deluxe reverb? I just turn the treble down and it sounds fantastic.
Not missing anything.
Not missing anything.
No. So interestingly, if you do clip the bright cap and you turn the treble back up, you won't get the same sound. It will shift those frequencies to a different spot. So if you like that sound, and I personally also really like that sound, leave it.
Yeah, because you can always turn the treble down. You can't turn it up if there's not enough there.
Totally.
Yeah. I did in the upcoming vlog on the Isbell telly. I just hammered it into the deluxe reverb and turned it up. It sounded
wicked?
flipping great. Well, those two amps that are there, the deluxe reverb and the Victory VC35. In the room, the VC35 sounded all fat and massive, and on the recording,
It's the deluxe.
the deluxe just sounds
Wow.
really, really cool. I think there's something wrong with the master volume on that amp, because it just doesn't work below 5.
Okay.
It's like nothing's happening. And I've played deluxes before that are into heavy overdrive by 4.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't. It's probably a pot taper thing, but
Interesting.
yeah. Non-aligned video says I'm late. Did I miss anything? Nah.
No, just this.
Couple of idiots talking rubbish as usual. Thank you for your kindness. Cup of noodles. I've got gas for a Silver Sky, PRS Silver Sky. Should I just go Fender Custom Shop? So many FCS Fender Custom Shop options where to start. Also, I'm still trying to get a sound from my 2 Rock Studio Pro 35. Any tips? Start with Studio Pro. I always had the mid pulled. One of the key things in the 35 is to get that. There's 2 controls on the back. One is the pickup loading on the input. So you need to get it to a volume where you're happy and just decide where you like that input impedance. And it'll affect the high end, and it'll affect how the guitar rolls off when you turn it down. Secondly, one of the really tough things about that Studio Pro is the effects loop return is always active, I think.
Right.
So you have to play with the effects loop level return to just get it sat in the place that you want it sat
Interesting.
in. I love that amp. I really love that amp. It was, in some ways, it was easier to use than the old CRS. Very, very satisfying amp to use, but yeah, I always had the mid thing pulled, if that helps. And Silver Sky, very different. Fender Custom Shop's going to be nitrocellulose, probably. It's a traditional Strat, probably. And it has an aesthetic that only a Fender Strat has. Silver Sky, definitely not nitrocellulose, more modern take on the idea. Says a different thing about you as a player, I think, if you care about anything in that vein. You just got to go with your gut, haven't you? Got to go with
Pick the one that you like to look at.
with what you want. I said to Lee, if they ever do the pink Silver Sky like John's got on the cover of Sob,
Right.
I'll have one.
Okay.
Unless it's like a private stock crazy thing. If they ever do the pink one like he's got on the front of Sob, I will buy it.
Cool.
So there you go. That's my Silver Sky gauntlet. Yeah, just go with your gut. Go with what do you wake up in the morning thinking about? Buy that one.
Yeah.
But seriously, says non-line videos, can you think of any classic amp circuit that has good touch sensitivity but lots of clean headroom? Marshall Major.
Good call.
I had a long discussion with Jeff Diamond about this. Diamond amps. I don't even know if Diamond amps still exist.
Right.
And we had a big discussion about plate voltage.
That's so funny because the amp I'm going to throw in the mix is all about plate voltage as well.
He's saying the higher the plate voltage, but right, so this is like massively reductive. But where you've got real high plate voltage in an amp, the opportunity for touch sensitivity is greater.
Okay.
Obviously, it all depends on the whole rest of the circuit, because if you're maxing out in the preamp section and getting loads of overdrive, then you're not going to get much touch sensitivity. But I've always felt that a bigger amp, a more powerful amp, gives you way more touch sensitivity than a tiny little one.
I think as part of that sort of loop and the way it's working with the speakers, because it's driving the speakers so much harder.
Yeah.
I was going to say one of the most touch sensitive amps I've ever played was an old Vox AC50.
Right.
Right? Crazy plate voltage.
Negative feedback?
No.
a lot of people say that the absence of or a minimal amount of negative feedback can really help with touch sensitivity as well.
Yeah, and it increases harmonics, increases less of the clean thing. You know, we're getting rid of the negative feedback. That helps. It helps keeps everything controlled, the negative feedback. But like, it's obviously not essential. But yeah, the AC50, super loud, super clean, but so touch sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Actually, that Laney LA30BL was a bit like that, wasn't it?
Yes.
In a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I think people say it about Tweed amps as well.
Okay.
They say, but of course, everything has its threshold. So the thing's got to be working at an optimum point where the voltage that you give it from the guitar can enable it to do its thing.
Of course.
And if the thing's not working, then you kicking it up the arse isn't going to.
Because you can have all the headroom in the world,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's going to be touch sensitive.
And then similarly, if the amp is utterly flat out,
Yeah.
unless you dial that guitar down to 2 or 1,
Or your dynamics are gone.
you won't get it anyway.
Yeah,
So
of course.
it's really not just about the amp circuit. It's about where the amp is sitting in relation to what you're doing to it.
Yeah. I mean, a wonderful sounding high watt turned up,
Yeah.
doing its thing, into the right cab. Yeah.
Master Machetier. Scary. I suppose there are legitimate uses for machetes, aren't there?
Yeah.
Like cutting down, like carving your way through a forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know many people who carve their way through forests.
Yeah. There's that guy, isn't there, called Machete?
Yeah, the actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was an anchor man.
Yeah.
Excuse
Anyway,
me, I don't speak Spanish.
he said, I was watching the Ariel Posen episode, says Master Machetier.
Is that the one where we wheeled him in the bag?
No, it's the one where he actually came in and played the guitar. Then me and you got up and looked like 5-year-olds next to him.
Yeah, okay.
Do you see a future video about different broadcasts and some similar overdrive preamps? I think that's a really good idea for a show.
Sure.
Because where Michael Hudson has done such an unbelievably great job turning something that is akin to a channel strip in a mixing desk into a really fantastic guitar overdrive pedal is a brilliant thing, and I think it's worth a question or two.
Totally.
Because there's no doubt it's a very different experience than your standard op-amp clipping at diode type overdrive pedal.
Yep.
So there are some interesting questions there. That's a good idea. Thank you for asking. Mateo Caster says, hi guys, I'm trying to put together a pedal rig that doesn't run through an amp, but some kind of physical IR box that can replicate power amp sections well. Any recommendations?
Simplifier.
By Humboldt, DSM and Humboldt.
Yep. Really great. The Simplifier, despite its name, there's quite a lot going on. It's quite tweakable. Really awesome. For something really simple, I was using the new neighbor
Iconoclast.
Loved
Strymon
it.
Iridium.
Strymon Iridium.
And the new
The Iridium's great.
the new thing from Walrus.
Yes.
ACS is it called? Forget what it's called. Anyway, Walrus do one. Strymon Iridium. DSM and Humboldt Simplifier. And the new neighbor Iconoclast.
There you go.
Any one of those things is going to work great for you.
Yep. Perfect.
Jeff Harper. Finally decided on an amp. I'm going to get a Fender Princeton Reverb lacquered tweed. And I cannot wait.
Ah.
Get in. Get in.
Very nice.
Get in.
Very nice.
Get in.
We've got a Princeton on the way, haven't we?
We do. We do. Just a standard Princeton 65 Reverb.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
You
might
can
be.
do your Jim Campilongo impressions.
I'll do any impression you want.
Yeah. Just jumped in on the live stream, says Burger Anderson. I'm going to have a burger tonight.
Are you?
He's probably Birger, but I've got a new adapter from my I've got one of those idiots travel barbecues.
Right.
Where
I know they're
where they take a normal barbecue, quadruple the price,
but half the size.
half the size,
Yeah.
and sell it to people like me.
Yeah.
But-
I've had some awesome food from you cooked on that
But
thing.
it only takes those really expensive screw-in canisters.
Oh, the ones with pierces to go through.
And Weber, the company, have made it essentially impossible to connect a proper big gas thing.
You've found a way, haven't you?
Well, no, I've ponied up and been even more stupid and bought their adapter, which has cost 50 quid. Because you need to deal with the pressure from a big gas canister.
Yeah.
You can't just, the little gas canister, be like, no, it's too much gas. And I'll be singeing off my eyebrows while cooking me burger, you see. And for anyone who thinks gas barbecue is a cop-out, I totally agree. Should be flame or nothing. Did buy a pizza oven recently.
Yeah, and that's amazing.
Yeah, a little thing like that made by a company called Uni with proper fire. Gets over 500 degrees in there. Centigrade, mind.
And
Not your silly Fahrenheit.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, cooks the pizza in like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you left it in there for 60 seconds, it would be, at 500 degrees, be burnt to a crisp.
Wow.
Yeah, about 45 seconds with regular turning is like literally as good as proper Italian pizza.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. Anyway, sorry, Birgit Anderson.
You haven't even got to the question.
How about the replicator and ape? Real tape and the ape. That would be awesome. Apicator. Thanks for all you do. Great work. Keep it up.
Yeah,
Yes,
that'd be cool. That'd be cool. You're going,
it
totally
would.
worth trying.
The only thing with the replicator, you're talking about the T-Rex
Yeah.
thing, which runs off like little cassette tape.
Yep.
It's got a hell of a compander circuit in it.
No, it doesn't. No, that's the thing. It doesn't have the compander circuit in it. So it's got a preamp circuit that you've got to turn up to hit the tape really hard.
Okay. What my memories of playing it was that the compression is odd in it.
Well, it
There's
doesn't.
not a lot of fidelity.
You're not getting for whatever reason, and they changed it. But the one that we had was you're missing the front of the note.
Yeah.
You get lovely.
So maybe they improved it after.
Yeah, I
that.
think they
Don't get
improved
us
it
wrong.
after.
Sounded really cool
Yeah,
and
it's
really
an amazing
unique.
sounding thing.
So whether the ape analog preamp experiment, for those of you who don't know, by J Rocket Audio Designs,
That's a great idea, actually.
whether that will exacerbate that or make it
Better,
improve it,
yeah.
we should try that.
Yeah, I'm going to try that out.
Yeah, thank you, Birger. And Alan Twilly again. What's a good first pedal for MIDI? I just ordered a G3 Atom.
Oh, legend. Thank you, bud.
Are there any fuzz MIDI pedals? I play a Silver Sky into a Friedman Twin Sister. Thanks for all you do. Oh, God.
That's so.
Pretty sweet rig.
Look, I've got the preamp Mark II on my board, and one of the main reasons I'm leaving it there is the fuzz in it.
It's
Absolutely love it.
the last thing we expected, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Was that the fuzz would be good.
it's wonderful.
So, Alan, apologies.
Check it out.
Now, the price is literally frightening.
Literally frightening.
It's like when you take your dog to the vet, they bring it back out all fixed. And they say, that'll cost you 2 guitars, please. And you're like, what? That's how much this costs. That's the same reaction.
Yeah, but the same thing is once you heard it, you can't take it back.
It's the Chase Bliss Preamp Mark II, and it is a fantastic MIDI fuzz and overdrive pedal. Back towards Planet Earth, the Ramble FX Kismet,
Yes.
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Is another good MIDI overdrive pedal. Is
Yeah,
that what it's
that's
called?
great.
Have I
Yeah.
got that right? Yeah, Ramble Effects Kismet, Kismet, is a good thing to check out. Or if both of those don't really appeal to you and you've got gain stages that work really well, then look at a delay or a reverb that's MIDIable.
Yeah.
You might find it's more use or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to just go crazy and you've recently won the lottery or had a payout from, I don't know,
Workers' comp.
.com.
You walked in and went, oi!
Get the Chase Bliss Audio Preamp Mark II and the CXM 1978 reverb and just MIDI away to your heart's content. And even I can use the MIDI on those.
Yeah.
I had to the other day and I was like, manual, done.
Nice.
I was surprised. Highly surprised, Daniel. Right. I do believe we may. Yeah, that is us.
Well done.
We were saying full of beans. People are confused about what full of beans means. David Douglas, someone who's full of energy might be described as being full of beans. It's British. Someone in America's like, full of beans, what does that mean?
You got gas.
You got gas, man. I'm so full of beans. Yeah, okay. All good. So, right, thank you to everyone who's been on tonight and stayed
thanks
with us.
everyone.
It's been a long one tonight.
Yeah. Great fun.
Shockingly, we're not sure if there's going to be a show this Friday. We're not going to blame it on Dan moving house because that's not the reason. The reason is we've just been really badly organised lately, and we've been working on this new stuff, and we don't have any shows in the can. We might do a live one.
Okay.
Or if I can finish the Isbell vlog, it might be that. But I've currently got a bridge buried in the garden out there, and it won't have tarnished by Friday. I don't think it's going to tarnish anyway.
No, I think it must be in there for years before we'd start to see any wear on that thing.
Few weeks.
Few weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I did have a go at it with a hammer and a punch to get through the chrome plating a bit.
Right.
So it will rust a little bit.
Okay.
But I was looking at Red and also Butters there, and those chrome bridges, it's dirt more than big tarnish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've got one in there which I actually used hydrochloric acid for, and it just looks wrong.
But the bridge on Red is actually a really old,
you told me,
really old bridge. And
Anyway, so it might be the Isbell vlog. I do have to do. I have to write and record a song as well, which may not happen before Friday. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
that was fun.
Yeah.
And I might say, welcome bit of relief
Yeah. From moving house.
from moving house.
In 12 hours' time, Dan, we'll be stood up. Literally in 12 hours' time, we'll be stood outside Abbey Road waiting to go in,
Oh my goodness.
which is pretty cool, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I better get home and get a few hours sleep.
Yeah. I need to decide what to do.
Can I say mine?
I can't. I've got dog disabilities.
Redog's abilities.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Okay, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Play us out, Dan.
Okay.